Are we there?
Hey everybody,
Hey, everybody.
how are you? We got K Munin in there.
Uh-huh.
We missed you last night, K Munin.
Yes.
And we got Wyatt. Hey
Wyatt.
Wyatt.
Wyatt Earp, famous gunslinger.
How are you? Hope everybody's 4th of July is going good so
hmm
far.
We don't do anything.
No, we usually stay in the house
Yeah.
and listen to the fireworks. They started
Well,
already.
you have to because it's going to happen anyways, and you're just kept up. The
Yeah.
cats don't like it.
No,
No,
they always run and
the cats
hide.
don't like it, but what are you going to
Yeah.
do?
Reynard is here.
Yes,
Hey,
he is.
Reynard.
So,
All is going well. Again, hope y'all had a good day and maybe y'all did some barbecuing and hung out with your family and
hmm
friends by the pool or whatever you do on 4th of July.
we didn't do any of
No, we
that.
didn't do nothing. We sat in the house and listened to music and sifted through some
We had
comics.
a lot of sifting to do.
Yeah, so that's about what we did today, you
Because
know.
of course we had that big buyout, and it's
Yeah.
something like 50, 57 boxes
Mhm.
of comics, mostly short boxes. I think like 48 of them are short boxes.
Yeah, did I say hey to Jay? Hey Jay, how are
Hey Jay
you?
McClintock.
Thank all of y'all for taking time out of your schedule to come and just hang out and chill with us for this time and just have a good time, good relaxing time talking about just things that we all share of the love of the nostalgia
Yes.
of music, movies, TV shows, toys, comics, whatever, and just have this safe space to not be bombarded
Hell,
with.
even the commercials were better.
Yeah, yeah. We got the space to not be bombarded with politics and
hmm
all of that other stuff that you constantly filled with throughout the day. So
Yes.
we take this time to just get away from that.
And
So
we're doing
thank
some
y'all.
extra this week because we
Yeah,
have a couple of days off.
yeah.
So,
So we decided, let's just come on like we were on last night. We spent I think an hour and a half and then the night, and
yeah.
because we're not working, we enjoy spending time. Y'all seem to enjoy having us on.
Yeah.
So we say, hey, why don't we spend some time doing this, and it's good to get out there like that. I missed the live stream last night but caught the replay. How's
Yes.
those 57 boxes coming
We're picking
along?
through. I mean, we had it was mostly in the long boxes. Is a lot of beat up books that I would put in like a 50 cent
Mm-hmm.
bin or a quarter bin or something like that, and which we will probably do if it's not anything that we personally want to keep. I see Severus has joined us as well
Yeah.
as William.
And we got Robert.
Robert
Robert
is
is
there.
always here. Um, Good to see you,
Yes,
Robert.
we you saw
Yeah, we
our
did a
after
lot.
the fact. I think Robert because you
Yeah.
commented.
And then we got
Tommy,
Tommy is here. How you doing there, Tommy? And we have
Kelly Bob,
Kelly Bob. Enjoy the fireworks. Love the channel. Ever heard of?
Snailins. Yeah, that does sound
No, I
familiar.
never heard of
It
Snailings.
does sound familiar, actually. Yeah. But yeah, 57 comic boxes,
Mm-hmm.
and while we sorting through a lot of the independent stuff first, but there are many boxes that it's old store stock, as they used to call it, new old store stock, because they are new condition
Mm-hmm.
in the boxes that looks like they come off of like they're ready to go right on the shelf. Like, so they broke out of the bundles and stacked them at a comic shop, bundles of like 10, 20 books, all the same title. Like we saw the question in one box, it was issues 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but there was like 10 or 15 of each,
Mm-hmm.
and but they're flawless.
Mm.
They're like, there's not a, they're like 9 6s, 9 8s all day, all of them. They're not like keys or anything,
Yeah.
but then it's like, okay, what do you do with this though? Because normally those are books you'd see in a dollar bin, a $1, $2, $3 bin,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But when they're in a really high grade, that's a different animal.
Yeah.
And there are collectors that would put a premium on really high grade copies of any book,
Mm-hmm.
any book. And these are all copper age. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the titles we're looking at are 80s titles.
Mm-hmm.
There's some 90s, but it's mostly 80s. There's a lot of stuff from people that have gone out of business, like London Press, Caliber Press, stuff like that. That you know, a one shot kind of, we're going to take a crack at being an indie comic, and then they just didn't make it. Blackthorn Publishing stuff, stacks of books,
Yeah.
and it's like, wow, you don't find this stuff. But usually, again, you'd see it in a $1 or $2 bin, but not in the condition they're in. The condition is unbelievable. Like the one I saw that caught my eye. I sent a picture of it to Chance, actually. The 2010 A Space Odyssey, the sequel to 2001 that came out in the 80s, and it had Marvel Comics had like a 2-issue movie comic, right? And there's like 20 of each, issues 1 and 2. They're flawless. There's not a mark on them. And I'm like, God, they're in incredible condition. I know you want to get to a couple of the comments there.
I don't want to get behind.
Kelly says they had a toy when they were young and they nicknamed him Sand Duner Man, but I forgot what it was. It was like a 3-inch figure but the thing, I found it on a playground. I'll never forget it again.
Yeah.
Never find it again. You never know.
Hey, Hank.
There's Hank.
And then it said my brother chopped it in half with a shovel.
See?
Also, when Chris Rock had his hair up in The Fifth Element, that's straight from the show called Snorks.
That wasn't Chris Rock. That was Chris Tucker.
Yeah, Chris Tucker.
Yeah, that did look like the Snorks. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, he got his car stolen, and the Swamp Thing figures was in there.
Oh no.
Yeah, that sucks. Well, California.
And Austin is here.
Hey, Austin. How are you? I remember I had a Humvee that was really cool, and my aunt got me the 96 Rancor Star Wars toy, fresh in the box. Don't you have that?
No, I don't have the Rancor.
Oh, you don't?
No, not anymore.
A key is for comics.
Okay, a key comic book.
Hey, Kentucky Mud, how are you?
Kentucky Mug is here, and he loves your hair.
Oh, thank you.
Isn't she lovely? Yes, absolutely. A key comic book is a comic book that has something that happens in it that is significant. For example, like the comic it has the first appearance of someone. It's a #1 issue, can be a key. A significant event, like someone dies who is important in the comic book, or even an object if it's like, very important in the storyline.
Sergeant Rock's eye patch.
Yeah, or like an event. That'd be an event when not Sergeant Rock. Nick Fury in the Howling Commandos.
Nick Fury.
There's an origin of the eye patch issue that explains what happened to his eye. Back in the Silver Age. This is an old book. That's significant. Or the issue of, what is it, Strange Tales? I forget, that where the cosmic cube is first discovered in another Silver Age issue. The cosmic cube, of course, has been very significant in comics and in the movie lore.
Yeah.
So that's a key issue.
The Batmobile.
Yeah, first time the Batman ever had the Batmobile is a key.
And the Jokerfish.
Yeah. Believe it or not, the Jokerfish.
I think I have that copy.
You do.
That issue.
We both have a copy of that.
Of the Jokerfish.
Yeah, the first time the Joker uses Jokerfish, because that's been used so often that it's significant as a first appearance in the comic book. It's not major, but it's important enough. And again, like I said, the one that people really hang on often is first appearances of specific characters, like the first appearance of Wolverine that appeared in Hulk. And that can carry a very high premium.
Yeah. So those are keys. I had a great haul earlier this week. GameStop is having a buy 2 get 1 free on all anime. I know you loving that, especially a big anime fan. We cut a triangle into that Rancor, but he sure got his use. Also, I always wanted Darth Maul when I was young. Never got him until 2018. Yeah, you notice a lot with toys. When you're a kid, you couldn't afford it, but now that you're an adult.
Yeah. I didn't have none of this when I was a kid.
I didn't have nothing when I was a kid.
No.
Oh, we don't have GameStop Las Vegas, New Mexico here. We have a place called Players with a Z.
And
Time to
Kentucky
braid day
wants me to
was
braid
big.
my beard. Yeah, you think
No, it
so?
gotta grow out a little bit more, and then we're gonna start doing the
And
braids.
John McJunkin has joined
Hey,
us.
John, how are you? Good to see you all again. Who's that?
And
Fiddle
Fiddle
Chips?
Chips isn't Rorschach's first appearance in the DC in the Questions series. I don't think so.
Not the question, because I
Well,
just read the question, the entire
plus
series.
originally the DC universe wanted to keep Watchmen separate,
Hmm.
so those characters did not interact with other DC characters.
Now, in the question, he was on an airplane and he was reading The Watchmen, and they made a point in the beginning of the book
Mm-hmm.
that he was going to be reading The Watchmen. So he took a airplane to, I can't remember where he went, but it was overseas. He left the United States and went somewhere overseas. I can't remember where. And he was reading The Watchmen, and he was making mention of things that was going on in that issue. I don't remember that name coming up, but I know his appearance wasn't in the book.
Yeah,
He could have mentioned them while he was reading The Watchmen, but he wasn't actually in the book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Occam's razor is
Yeah.
here. Said, yeah, the right high grade books are desirable. Key or not, people might be completing runs or love the cover. Yeah, it's a big deal. The Future Past Collectibles,
Mhm.
it's another channel on YouTube, specializes in really high grade books. Mostly like bronze, I think, though, but he does copper as well. But he specifically looks for the highest possible grade because that's his niche. He's a reseller.
Oh, he. I saw that recently.
Tombstone,
That, yeah, with the
Kelly Bob talking
tombstone.
there.
Yeah, and then actually in that lot we just got that issue was there, and then Chance showed that issue with the different tombstones on the front. I think Spider Man.
Tombstone is a character in Spider Man.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Never mind.
yeah.
Forget everything I just
The
said.
guy looks like
Never
Lurch.
had $9 as a kid, but I
Yeah,
guess we didn't need it. Yeah,
I needed it.
yeah,
Munin says Cosmic Cube was discussed on Chance's live stream the past Sunday. That's correct.
yeah.
The price has come down a lot since the first appearance. Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. And Fiddle Chip says DC Universe. Uh huh.
Yeah, and then with the Cosmic Cube and everything going on with Marvel and all of that, it's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
falling apart, and people just starting to get all out of that because it's based on the question like the night I was
Yeah, Tommy's
basically.
saying that Rorschach's character is based on that. And Action Joe Figures is here.
Hey, Action Joe, make sure y'all check out his channel. He does a lot of um GI Joe figures and working on it and hauls and stuff like that. And it's a lot of, I don't know if it's this size, that big one you got over
Which
there,
one?
the 12-inch
Uh huh.
ones. He got a lot of those 12-inch ones.
Is it the Adventure Team?
Yeah. I don't know if it's the Adventure Team or the commemorative though.
Okay.
They all look the same to me.
What John wants to know is, since it's the fourth, they want us to name our top three best American toys. American toys.
I know you don't like Mattel and Playmates
I
and
don't know.
stuff like that.
I don't understand things.
And the question is a comic code approval version of creator of Brother Steve Ditko. Is a comics code approved version of. What are you doing?
I was looking for something real quick. I thought something was there that I could pull out, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's well, the question was a Charlton comic first.
Yeah, he started out
Charlton, Blue Beetle, a lot of those characters were adapted.
Yeah, and then DC brought him over, and then I like the version from the, I think, what, 90s. I like that version. I did read the first one, or the one from Charlton, and that was fine. He was more like a investigative reporter, because
Uh-huh.
he was a news reporter slash detective like thing going around, you know, breaking cases.
Although
But
when
then,
he was in Charlton, he just ran around punching people, though. He just
yeah,
basically.
but then once he got to DC and they did that series in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s, um he was still a reporter, digging up stuff and going out, and he was just more angry, kind of a vigilante, not really even a vigilante, just angry, beating up on bad people. And Batman came and kind of straightened him out, and then he went and got some training, but he still didn't really have any direction. Really, he still was
Hmm.
kind of a loose cannon. He was, coming together. You can see that after he went and got his training, he went on like a year sabbatical or something. It was more than a year, but he had went away um, to training. When he came back, his head was a little bit clearer and he was a little more focused, but he was still a loose cannon.
Hmm.
He still needed to be wrung in a little bit. And by the time the 2000s came, and he got, I don't know if it was powers, because they never really explained it. He had, yeah, he had like some powers or something, but they never really
Yeah,
explained where that came
how they do
from.
that. They overpower characters and they keep going. I mean, look at Harley Quinn and what they've done with Harley
Yeah,
Quinn. She's gone from just being Joker's sidekick to being able to like beat the hell out of everybody. You remember when
yeah, they
like
did too much with her.
look at her with the Thomas Wayne Batman, and she's like a super ninja. It's ridiculous. Action Joe says they posted on their channel today. Vintage Joe he found at an antique mall dressed in an Uncle Sam outfit, but he
That's
doesn't know
cool.
where the outfit came from.
Somebody just did something.
Hmm. Occam wants us to get a Harley
For what?
so that you can ride on the back of the
No, we
motorcycle.
ain't doing all that. He don't ride no
How about a
motorcycle.
sidecar?
No, I'm not doing none of
Oh
that. And
no!
David don't ride
You know
motorcycles.
what I was looking for? As I
Mr. A, both by Steve Ditko.
Ditko
Oh, okay.
Ditko creation he's talking about,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Hasbro originally was an American company. I don't know about now. Hasbro, Mattel, Kenner,
All of
they all
those
were.
who,
Yeah. And
yeah.
Kentucky says Hot Wheels got to be on that list. You know, the original GI Joe.
Kenner.
Yeah, and almost anything by Kenner.
Yeah. It seemed like all of these toys that we played with, Ideal, I'm looking around now,
Hmm.
they were all American.
And manufactured here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then something happened. Hey, Jesse, say what?
Yep.
How are you doing today? Um, I got a cool Golden Age Blue Beetle figure from the indie market maker, Creative Comics in 2019. GI Joe was great. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was what
Hasbro.
Hasbro,
GI Joe
Hasbro.
Hasbro.
Yeah, looked it up. The question number 17. First time, really,
Okay.
not the Watchmen universe. I don't remember him in the book, but I mean, maybe I just missed it.
Could be.
Yeah,
Bernard says they like classic DC before Crisis on Infinite
Crisis.
Earths. Better than the DC afterwards. How do you guys feel? Well, the Crisis on Infinite Earths was to clean up all what they perceived as the multiverse stuff that was happening back then. It was a way to clean up all the crossovers and get focused. But then afterwards, they unraveled all that by going all over the place with multiverse, this, that, and the other. And that's just annoying.
Hey Lou, how
Migo
you
like is there.
doing?
Hey Lou.
Good to see and hear from you again.
Well, I had a set of figures, heroes of the American Revolution
Oh, them
from
president
yeah
figures.
that were made
Isn't
exclusively.
they back there?
No,
Oh,
that were
they
made
were.
for. No, they're
They
not
were.
there.
They were.
That were made for Montgomery Wards in 1975 in lieu of the bicentennial,
Mm.
because 1976 was coming up the next year, and there's tons of 1776 1976 merchandise, and they made a set of figures, and then like a year later
Mm-hmm.
they reissued the set, but they added two more,
Mm.
and I've got a set of the original Montgomery Ward release, and I thought they were in the closet, but they're not there because I was going to show them. The figures are terrible. They're terrible, but the costumes are incredibly well done. They're
Yeah.
like Mego-like figures.
Hmm.
They're designed kind of like Mego, but the bodies are just crappy. They did a terrible job with them. But then, like I said, the costumes, the detail on the costumes is unreal,
Mm.
absolutely unreal.
In order of influence, perhaps Kenner Motu, which is Mattel, and even the Transformers, possibly early GI Joe or Big Jim.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Big
when.
Jim was a big deal. Big,
Yeah,
yeah,
homemade suit for that GI Joe. My little who made My Little Pony? David, do you have any vintage Captain
not
Action?
anymore. I don't have any more. I used to have a set of those.
The question is just reading a Watchmen comic in that issue.
They still
Yeah.
arguing about it.
Oh,
It's
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but
But the thing about the question, because like I said, I read that entire series. I like the series. The one thing I didn't like, they touched on a lot of things that they just dropped, and they never came back to it.
yeah,
Um they
they
never
never
got
wrapped
back.
it up.
Yeah, they just dropped it. It was like, okay, we're going somewhere with this. Like they had one guy, I can't remember what his name was, but anyway, he led the question all the way back to, I think, Germany or somewhere, and they went, and he died in this tree and turned into a, I don't know, like a werewolf or something, and then it just ended. And then you're thinking, okay, the next episode or the next book, we're gonna get some information. Nope, dropped that and kept right on going. And it's and that
Oh
happened quite
no.
often in the book, and it kind of got annoying because the stories that they dropped felt like it was going somewhere, and it was like, okay, now this is going to be good, let's keep this going for a minute. But no, when America was great before all the brands, yeah.
Yeah, they used to manufacture a lot of that stuff here.
Hey, free Josh. Josh is always
Yes,
free.
he is.
Who comes in just as free as a bird.
And Jay is here. Any up and coming
Shows.
shows?
Yeah, we
The
got two this month.
two this month. Oh, Lou says he just did a live with those and a ton of bicentennial Migo
Oh,
knockoffs. Okay.
wow.
Yeah, he's got my Migo, like he's got a lot of that kind of stuff, and he has a channel too.
Yeah, he like those like doofy figures like what David has, like
Yeah.
the knockoff Migos, the Durhams,
Yeah.
and I call them those doofy ones. But
Some of them
you
do
know,
look
yeah,
ridiculous.
they do. But
Yeah.
that's how they're supposed to be, and they
Yeah.
and they look cool when you look at them long.
I'll show you something here in a minute, Lou. You want to see something crazy, crazy, crazy. But
They with Harley Quinn, they really just over. Yeah.
yeah, just really sick of seeing her. But in answer to Jay's question, before
Okay.
I lose track of my
Hmm.
train of thought, on the 14th is the Atlanta Comic Convention, and then on the 21st is the
Record
record
show.
and CD show. Yeah, Migo. Lou says shitty dolls with great outfits. Basically, the outfits on those American Revolution figures are amazingly well done.
Yeah.
The detail is incredible, and then the figures are terrible.
Hey Thor, go
Happy
get your thing
birthday,
to
he
show
says.
who birthday. Oh yeah, the United
Oh, that's
States
right.
birthday.
Yeah. The toy companies were American and the figures were made in the United States. Prices were reasonable. Now made in China, prices are high. Go figure.
Well, not only that, the prices are high, but when they were made in America, they were good of they were better quality, and we talk about this all the time. All the time, we talk about the quality of figures. And now, they're made overseas and the quality is just garbage. You got to use the blow dryer. We soaking things in water. It's just ridiculous that you have to do all
Oh,
that. But, that's
no.
what they got. I have the George Washington Joe I display in my classroom. Okay, you a school teacher?
It sounds like it would be from the Hall of Fame collection from the 90s. Oh,
Mm.
anyway.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. No,
Let me
no.
read this and then you
Yeah,
can share
Hank
that.
says, when the reaction O-ring Joes hit the stores, how do you think they will sell, good or poorly? They'll probably sell good at first, at the very least, um, until people get a feel for them. Because there's a lot of people that are nostalgia for the O-ring style GI Joe classic looking figures. So yeah, I can see an appeal right off. The traditional 5 points articulation reaction figures didn't quite hit the mark. The card art is great on them for the GI Joes especially, but they're still 5 points articulation figures. So people looked at them and they're like, I don't know. But if they are O-ring figures, I think
Yeah.
that'll hit the mark for a lot of people who are nostalgic to that, of course. But and then it remains to be seen if they're going to tolerate it. Also, the price point, we don't know how much they're going to be
Yeah,
yet.
it's gonna be something ridiculous.
Here you go, Lou. How bad is that? It's so bad, it's amazing, isn't it? Look how big this sucker is. It's like
Look at the back.
it's like 14 inches, right? And it's just the cheapest possible spray paint on here. This is one of those so bad it's good. No sword, no sword, because
No,
look,
nothing.
he's got a piece of a handle, but they didn't give him the whole sword. See how badly it's painted? Just a spritz, right? On his lips too. So he's been huffing paint, I guess, because he's got silver in his mouth. On the back of the figure,
Nothing. He
nothing.
just butt naked.
3 points of articulation, shoulders and waist, right? And then look at the header card. Civil War, Civil War, Civil War. A friend of ours from Mexico sent us these. These are not modern. These are older, but these are about, for people who love this kind of stuff. It's about as bad as it can get. And here's Faker. It's basically the same thing, but in blue.
Yeah.
So,
and look at the hair. He spray painted. They spray painted the hair yellow.
Just the front of the hair. Just the front. No paint on the back. Because we spared every expense. We spared it. And this one, obviously, is military force. Military force. That's what I think of when I think military or Civil War right here.
Yeah, He-Man.
He-Man.
And Faker.
Kind of. And they weigh nothing. These weigh like 4 ounces.
That hollow blow mold.
And then there's bits broken off in there. Because you can hear the shreds floating around in there from where the molds were cracked off. His arms are different colors than his torso. I don't know if you can tell that. It's just so badly done. But when you're into this kind of stuff,
yeah,
it's so bad it's good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I knew Lou would appreciate these. The classic, like vintage Mexican bootleg kind of weird stuff.
David, what temps do you run your heat press on? Different for each era? How long do you run it? Curious. Everyone seems to be different. He's coming, Akam.
Yeah.
You gotta go put that stuff back. So what temperatures?
177 degrees for half an hour on each side, and then I leave it in the press. Unless it's a modern book. Because if it's a modern book, the paper is made out of a different material. It's like that magazine paper. It's got that polymer in it. And if you put it at a high temperature, it'll melt. And the pages will all stick together. It'll melt the ink on the page, and then they'll stick. You'll be baking a brick, basically.
No, we haven't got any TV guide issues
for a while,
in a long
Bernard.
time.
Yeah.
Now we have been seeing it at shows and at record shows a lot. We have been seeing them, but we haven't been getting any because they're kind of expensive. The ones we got before, we found it at a yard sale, and we found a set at an estate sale.
Yeah.
And they were cheap. But if you go, like I said, to the record show, you always see them there, and they're kind of expensive.
Yeah, they want a lot. And Action Joe says he lost his Whiz comics several years ago and got bummed about it. How'd you lose them?
No, that's right. I'd be bummed
too. Yeah, that's Golden
Whiz
Age.
comics?
Fiddle Chip says Harley Quinn's stock went way down. Suicide Squad versus Justice League was disgraceful. The films I haven't seen the films, but I've heard they're pretty bad. But yeah, she's just overdone. There's several characters that I'm just tired. I'm tired of hearing about. And Harley Quinn's one of them.
Yeah, she was fine in Batman the animated series. She was created for that. And then all of a sudden, now she got comic books. She got a million toys and statues and all of this. And in a ton of movies, and it's like the one that was in Batman the animated series worked.
Hmm.
That Harley Quinn worked. But
Yeah.
then they kept bringing her back for some of the other animated Batman's movies, the movies, and they kept kind of changing her up. She was never like what she was in Batman the animated series. In the movies, sometimes she was, sometimes she wasn't. She was just like super Harley and all of that. I don't know. And I know she got her own cartoon out of it, and her and Poison Ivy had a thing. And you saw that coming in the animated series. They didn't hint at that, but they became really good friends.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it, and I told David, I was like, they're gonna take that on a whole
Yeah.
new level.
Someone is going to
And
take
they
that.
did. They took it way out there, because I know the Harley Quinn cartoon that came on HBO or Cinemax or whatever. That's the direction they went in. Hey, Gilgamesh, how you doing? And we got
Display name. He says the sculpts from Super 7 are too soft for my taste.
what does too soft mean?
He doesn't think they're doing a good enough job.
Oh,
And Hank says that's a terrible knockoff. Was that? Yes, it's from Mexico. Yes, it is.
yeah.
And John says in honor of the fourth, his top three are Lionel train sets. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Mattel Barbie dolls and Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley board
The
games.
board games.
Fair enough.
They had the market locked down, Milton
Mhm.
Bradley and Parker Brothers, when it came to board games. Everyone knows that the Civil War is where Cringer
Yeah.
is limp.
Poor Cringer.
Mm-hmm.
Sever says he doesn't do Joe, but the SDCC once a man.
Oh, yeah.
Cobra Commander is very nice. Con exclusive. Rarely hit as hard as that one. Yeah. That they made a con exclusive of from the movie where he starts changing. When
Yeah.
Galobulus hits him with the gas.
Yeah, the spray
Master
cans.
of the spray
That's
cans.
all it did. It just, it didn't even try to flip them over.
Fabio is here. They didn't.
Hey,
Hey,
Fabio.
one can of paint, 1,000 figures. Make it work. And Zomb is here.
Cheers from Canada.
And Action says, I had them in a climate controlled storage and then moving to another box disappeared. Oh my. Oh no. He's talking about those Wiz comics. Oh no.
Yeah, Kelly, she was great on the animated.
Yeah.
Want some pie, Mr. Joker? She loved the
And
Joker.
she made a lot of innuendos that
Yeah.
made you think that, this show is not really for kids. Like when she's in like her nightie and she's crawling on the table in front of Joker, and she was like, does Joker want to ride the Harley? And I'm like, wait a minute. and he smacked her.
Yeah, he beat her up pretty
He's like,
good.
I'm thinking, get away.
Yeah,
and it's like, golly.
He beat her up pretty good, and she always
he was
went
rough
back
on
to
her.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. Easel Monkey says, off topic, Diamond Select Captain America is a superb figure.
Really?
Lots of accessories. I'm surprised. Yeah, because I don't typically show anything from Diamond Select because they made a lot of junk. Eric Peter says, I agree. When Harley was a jester in the animated series, she was fun. Sidekick character you look forward to. Now she's an overly sexualized character for cellar dwellers.
Yeah.
Cellar dwellers. You
That's
live,
a good
you
one.
live
I
in
can
that
use.
basement.
Yeah.
You know what that makes me think of is Comic Book Guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Who remembers when Comic Book Guy got together with Skinner's mother?
I didn't watch the show that much to even know about
they had a relationship going, and his home got raided, and the Chief Wiggum and the police, they rushed in and caught the two of them in bed. And then he rushes and he says, you're under. Oh, God. Okay, we'll go easy. Just stop whatever that is you're doing. Like, oh, my God.
Well, I mean, you can't really say that. I mean,
Zomb's
of those
everybody's
modern toy companies are copying the old
they're
stuff.
all copying.
I mean, NECA, not probably not NECA. NECA, Well, they do different things
They do
like
the same thing over and over
yeah,
again.
they
NECA,
do the same thing
but
over and over, but
yeah,
that's all you got
they're
because they don't.
copying themselves. No, you know what? They're copying Kenner because Kenner had the original Aliens Predator line, and
Yeah,
they
but
even
then they
copied
do.
the art. The art
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah, they do some of their own stuff
Yes,
because I was thinking about how they do like the Halloween stuff and all of that
that's
horror
true.
stuff
Yeah,
and all of that. But they do take some of the same things like the Ninja Turtles and
yeah.
all of that. So everybody, all of these modern toy makers are just riding the
Defenders of the
coattails.
Earth.
Yeah, Captain. No, we're not. Flash Gordon.
Occam says, "What do you think of the new James Gunn Superman costume? I think it's ridiculous, but we'll see what happens." Yeah, have you seen the new photos with Hawk Girl, like 4'9", like 60-pound wet Hawk woman,
So,
um, and Guy Gardner, who looks like, you know, your high school science teacher, potbelly and all.
mm,
The characters are not looking very good, but you know. Oh, and John is here.
mm-hmm.
Hi to you both. Wanted to say I love your content while I have you live. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. He
Mm-hmm.
says cheers. Does that mean you're in the UK?
Mm-hmm.
And Zom says the new Harley tune is brutal. I
Mm,
haven't seen it.
no.
I haven't seen it.
Mm-mm.
But oh, what was I saying?
I don't know.
Maybe I was answering somebody's question. Oh, the
Oh
James
yeah,
Gunn
yeah, yeah,
Superman.
yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
James
yeah,
Gunn
yeah.
Superman. I got thrown. But they're showing the costumes because a lot more photos have been revealed, and the Guy
Yeah.
Gardner looks terrible.
But you know, once they CGI the heck out of him, he gonna look normal,
Yeah, because
nice and
they've
chiseled.
got everybody hanging from like wires, and there's a guy in a completely blue stocking outfit walking around guiding them because
Mm-hmm.
he's the guy you're going to erase in the CGI. And so who knows how it's going to turn out, but it looks like they're going to do a whole Justice League kind of thing.
Um,
Hank says he agrees Harley is overdone. He'd love to see Man Bat or Scarecrow, etc. There are so many villains. Oh, you know which one I really like
who?
is the ventriloquist,
Yeah,
Scarface.
yeah.
Scarface and the ventriloquist. That's a really interesting idea.
I
And
think they said they were gonna try and use either Mr. Freeze or Scarecrow in the new Batman
but those
movie.
have been done over and over
I
also,
know.
you know. But I would like to see Scarface. That's hilarious, the way
Mm-hmm.
that they do that, and then how his henchmen um, somehow are convinced, yeah, the puppet's real because this guy's a moron who's carrying him around. I love
Mm-hmm.
that whole concept where after a while they start falling into it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Severus says he thinks the DC animated universe movies are actually knocking it out of the park. Adult themes and strong animation.
Yeah.
Some of that's better written.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then they got a new Batman animated it looks like a series coming on Amazon Prime starting I think this month. I saw it and I saved it to start watching. So I hope it's good. Amazon has it, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They also had the classic line of Animaniacs. Yeah.
Oh, you want me to fingerprints? Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Comic book guy was hilarious. Yeah.
yeah. He's supposed to be based on a real person.
Oh, really? I always wanted the
Oh,
Wolfie
the
that
Wolfie doll that Eddie Munster had. They've made it.
didn't.
They
Yeah.
have made it. The Wolfie Gilgamesh. I got the NECA Ninja Turtle SDC tooth pack. It sold out in less than a minute Wednesday.
Wow.
Had it in the cart. Couldn't check out in time. Got it a Thursday
Thursday.
before it sold out in a minute again. Golly.
We talked about that last night.
Yeah, get
How
sick of chasing.
yeah, and how that purchasing stuff on this like limited window that kind of died out some. I
Yeah.
don't do that anymore, but I used to. Back especially when it was doing it a lot with Funko. I did it a couple of times with Mondo, but Funko was notorious for that. I'd hate having to go through that for figures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't even bother anymore.
Mm-mm.
You don't even bother anymore.
Because it just makes it, that's what really turns you off with all that. It's like, golly, why are you playing all these games? I'd rather have a window of a week long or 30 days. Why do you have to have this like 5 minute window?
Not even,
Yeah.
until it sells out. And then,
Yeah.
like I said yesterday, somehow or other, there's some joker on eBay's got 50 of them.
Yeah.
How
One
did that
guy.
happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad versus Justice League is a video game.
Okay.
In the cutscenes, Harley kills Batman and Captain Boomerang.
Boomerang. Yep.
Pees on Flash dead body. DC allowed this trash to happen.
Yep. That's because that's the direction they've gone in.
Yeah, Gremlins and
Gremlins and
RoboCop.
RoboCop. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gilgamesh wants 2 of the Hasbro exclusives. Not looking forward to trying to get them in the 30 seconds they may be up.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. You.
I seen the pictures of that Nicolas Cage Superman. He looked good as Superman. I don't know if he could play it well, but it did look kind of cool in the suit. I thought that was
a lot of people were regarded as a possible for Superman, including Clint Eastwood. I don't know how well that would have worked out because he looked too old even then.
Yeah, he always look old.
Yeah, he always look old.
Top 3,
according to John.
Yeah.
Mego action figures, Kenner, Star Wars, the 1/18 scale, and the Atari 2600 home video game system. But that's a classic. That's the first one to really pull it off.
But that's not a toy.
There was other video game systems prior to the Atari 2600, but that's the one that nailed it. That everybody wanted, because like I said, there were other systems prior, but it just didn't stick. The Atari 2600 stuck, even though improvements happened very quickly. When ColecoVision came out, it was much better, and you can get an Atari adapter for it to play Atari cartridges with your Coleco. Intellivision was okay. Their controllers sucked. And then, right around the corner, here came the Nintendo NES, which just a changing the bits just that much, going from, and think about this, you're dealing with Atari and stuff, you're dealing with like a 4-bit platform, and then from 4 to 8 on the Nintendo NES was such a huge difference. And then you go from Nintendo NES to Sega Genesis, going from 8 to 16, and look at the difference.
Yeah.
But and my go-tos, even though I grew up with Atari 2600, which I bought myself.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Worked my ass off and bought myself. I bought a used one from another kid.
Oh wow!
But the ones I always want to go back to whenever I feel like playing a video game, it's always either the NES or Sega Genesis. Those are like my 2 favorites.
The new James Gunn Superman costume is trash. Cavill will always be the best iteration. Superman.
A lot of people feel that way.
I liked him as Superman.
I liked Reeve too, but Superman 3 and 4 were badly written.
Yeah.
The first 2 were well done, and Reeve was a good actor, but 3 and 4 are just goofy. I mean, if you want to watch a goofy movie that should be on riff tracks, 3 and 4. Munin says Tamashii Nations added My Hero Academia to the list of figures they produce. They already have the prototype for the Izuku done.
Kelly got a PS5 for $120, $100 shipping. He must have got it on eBay because they do some crazy shipping on eBay. I've been noticing that even more lately.
Yeah,
it's been crazy, but it seems like it's even more lately.
And Hank says Scarface and the Ventriloquist are awesome. They're hilarious, and that's a newer one. Display Name says he trusts James Gunn to do a nice job.
Yeah, I don't know if Mitzik Piglet can
Mix Pidley.
I don't know if he can carry a full-on movie.
And Eric made a donation to the channel. Says thanks for hanging with us. Always fun. Hope the fireworks don't scare the kiddies.
They will.
They'll be all right.
They're gonna go hide somewhere underneath the dresser. They'll be all right in the end.
They'll be all right in the end.
Oh, okay. You saw the trailer for it? I didn't look at the trailer. I don't like looking at trailers of
Uh-oh.
movies I really or TV shows I really want to see.
You know who
So,
else would be a really good villain that they touched on him. He was on like one of the
oh,
animated.
your name is long.
Oh,
But hey to you. Are we gonna call you Maria?
Maria Alexandria Delgado Hevia.
Maria. Hey Maria, how you doing?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. But they he appeared for a moment in one of the Suicide Squad animated films,
Uh-huh.
and what's her name killed him like immediately, blew up the thing in his head,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, that's such a load of crap. And that was the KG Beast. KG Beast, great villain. 10 Nights of the Beast was well written. I would love to see a properly done KG Beast, but they don't do it, and they kill him immediately. And I'm like, he's the one guy that could get the job done.
Mm.
As far as dealing with Batman, for example, even beyond Bane,
Mm-hmm.
because if anybody here read the KG Beast, what happened at the end of the KG Beast? Zom says Wolfie was super limited. Butch Patrick was involved. Okay, he means the doll from the Munsters.
Mm.
Munin says, if you think about it, there's really no excuse for a pre-order to sell out in a mere few minutes.
No, it's not.
It's too limited. They're doing it on purpose to create artificial demand.
Yeah, and that's why I stopped with all of that because it just got crazy. It got ridiculous, and it's like, okay, we're not little kids trying to playing games. If you want to sell your product, sell your product. Why do you have
Yeah.
to have these super limited numbers? And then again, like David said, you got somebody on eBay, not just one person. You got several people on eBay that got 20 or more, but then
Mhm.
you say it's limited to one person. And then you
Or
say,
two per
yeah,
person or some kind of thing like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you say you're doing things to stop the robots and from ordering and all of this, and it's and everybody know
That's what
that's a
Zomp is going on about
yeah,
there further down in the
yeah,
comments, real
everybody
quick
knows
there.
a lie.
But at the end of the KG Beast, for people who didn't see it, spoiler alert here, is when he had him finally cornered, right? He had him finally cornered. I forget. I think they were in a subway or something, and it's got that blast door,
Yeah.
emergency
Mm-hmm.
like bomb shelter, whatever. And he's like, "All right, this is it. Let's go, let's go." And Batman's standing there and just shuts the door and bolts it.
Mm.
And he was like, "Yeah, maybe in my younger days when I didn't know any better, but I'm not fighting with this guy." And he wouldn't do it. But I mean, this is the guy who chopped off his own hand to get away from Batman in the first place,
Mm.
and then got a prosthetic, like freaky device put on like immediately afterwards.
That's what Rick did in the new Walking Dead.
Yes, but he did. Batman had him, and because he was hung up by one of his cables, and he's like, I got you," and he snapped it off, snapped his hand off, and dropped, and Batman's like, "You got to be kidding me, this guy's nuts," but he didn't want to fight him.
Uh,
He didn't want to fight him.
I don't know those two characters, so I can't comment.
Oh, DC's Isis or Marvel's Storm. I don't remember what Isis can do. I remember watching Isis. I have the comics, but I haven't read them. I have two issues of Isis,
Mm.
but I remember watching it because they had the Isis Shazam Power Hour live action on Saturday mornings on CBS back in the 70s, and they had a few live actions. Jason of Star Command,
Mm-hmm.
and they had Space Academy live action shows. CBS did a lot of that chapter style shows,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember what she could do.
My uncle had a Magnavox Odyssey. He always talked very highly of that game system.
Mm-hmm. I bet you're way behind. Zom says some
Yeah,
toy
I think I
company
am.
needs to make Spidey figures based on the 67 cartoon. I want to see one based off of the Spider-Man from the Electric Company.
Mm.
Kelly was afraid that somebody was going to cancel that auction.
Mm.
That's what they're saying there.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Robert, he
what?
says he has to work tomorrow. Good
What?
you.
Mm. Mm. Some people got, but tomorrow is not a holiday, so a lot of people are going back to work. Not me. David, do the comic guy voice.
You want me to do the comic guy voice?
I
Oh
was joking
no.
about that guy, just totally unknown villain like Clayface. So sad.
Clayface would have to be a lot of CGI.
I had heard that it was some talk about doing
Uh-huh.
Clayface, and I was like, "There's no way," because he's like a shapeshifter,
Yeah.
and it was just the way they do CGI now. Even though it cost them billions of dollars to do a movie and a
Doesn't make
TV
sense.
show, it would still look sloppy, and it would make the whole even if it's a good movie with a great plot, well written, well acted, that would make it a bad movie.
Yeah.
The poor CGI trying to get Clayface to shape shift, and because on the animated he melted into nothing and came back together, but in animation you can get away with a lot of
Yeah.
things. That's why in some
Well, they managed to pull it off in Terminator 2 with the shapeshifter.
yeah, but his whole body didn't shape shift.
But what I mean,
Yeah, I know what you're
what I'm
saying.
suggesting
I
is that for
know.
some reason the CGI then was better.
Yeah. Wow.
McFarlane showed off his first two Bleach figures. Both are mixed media. They look good, he says. And then Occam says, "Did you see the Super 7 GI Joe O-ring prototypes?" No, I have not seen the prototypes. I didn't really
think
pay
we
attention.
saw them at the thing.
I wasn't paying attention though.
Oh, hey Patrick,
Patrick has
how are
joined us.
you? Second fight, Aquaman or Submariner?
Aquaman or Submariner?
Yeah.
Uh,
Namor.
I would guess Namor because he can duplicate their
Yeah.
he can duplicate everybody's abilities, or he can duplicate the sea creature's abilities, if I remember correctly. Is that right, or am I thinking of the wrong guy?
Probably.
Hank says he'd like to see Baby Doll and Killer
Yeah.
Croc. Yeah,
That-
because they were dating.
I don't know how they did it. But they
were
were
dating.
Yeah, it's almost firework time. It started here. You can hear it going on.
Yeah.
But the way society is now, it would get super creepy.
And Munin says Sabretooth looks terrible in the latest Deadpool Wolverine trailer. Look at the hair. Well, they're pulling in different incarnations of various characters, like the Juggernaut. You've probably seen the Juggernaut already, but they also tried to get the Juggernaut from the original X-Men film. The actor wouldn't do it because they wanted him also to come, and so they're trying to like do a multiverse kind of a thing. Solomon Grundy, I would like to see. Yeah, I'd like to see Solomon
because
Grundy.
I mean, you don't have to do a lot. I mean, yeah, you got to do a CGI a person that big because he was really big, but at least he won't be shape shifting and doing all that. You know,
Solomon Grundy is a solid DC character that is highly underrated, my friend. I would have you know I am an expert in all things comic books.
He had a good point on yesterday's stream. He mentioned how the first Jurassic Park's computer graphics
yeah, it looks better than any
of
the stuff they're doing now, and that's from like decades ago. It's crazy.
Submariner, and I would like Aquaman to win the Jason Momoa one.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now we're caught up.
Only if Aqualad is helping him.
Aqualad lame.
The Aqua Load is more like it. If you ever watched the 1967, is it 67? Because we watched the whole season, Saturday morning cartoon, 1967 Aquaman, and they had the Superman and not Spider-Man, Batman from that time period. And Aqualad, all he did was get stuck in different places, and then Aquaman would have to come and bail his sorry behind out. He's like, Aquaman, help! Or, every time you turn around, a rock is falling and hitting Aqualad in the back of the head, and he's laying out there.
Yeah, and it was always him and that girl.
And the walrus.
Mira. Yeah, Mira.
Mira, too. She's useless. She's always getting trapped somewhere. And then the walrus is under the sea, and the walrus is telling Aquaman, what's that? Tadpole got in trouble again? Oh, hang on there, Tadpole. He always called him Tadpole. And he's like pulling him out from under something, underwater fire or some bullshit that doesn't make any freaking sense.
You don't think it could be fire underwater?
And he throws water balls.
at the
Aquaman,
fire.
he swirl up a water ball and throw it, and swirl up a water ball and throw it. But you're underwater. You're
Yeah,
underwater and you're throwing water.
yeah.
This doesn't make
It makes
sense.
all
It
kind of
doesn't make
sense.
any
You're
sense.
not looking at it properly.
How are you throwing water underwater? And then he has the big seahorse that he rides on. But yeah, Aqualad or Tadpole. Hang on, Tadpole, I'm coming. He was always Tadpole was always getting knocked out. A beam had hit him. A boat would bump him in the head. A rocket. He must have brain damage by now. As many times he's been hit in the head.
He young.
John says third fight first. DC Plastic Man or Mr. Fantastic. Plastic Man. Plastic Man. Plastic Man. One of the most dangerous characters in the DC universe. He's made out of a like a nearly indestructible polymer. Even if you melt him, he can recover from it. But yeah, he's really dangerous in comparison to Mr. Fantastic. Hank says, Hollywood is broken when Marvel's new Blade movie was announced 5 years ago, and still no movie because of issues with directors and writers. Yeah, because they keep trying to add the message to Blade, and nobody wants that. They want what they had with Wesley Snipes. There's already been 3 Blade
That's
movies.
what Kelly was saying. You can't have. And then they tried to switch it to that other guy, Ali, or whatever his name is. Then it said it was going to be a female. And I know.
And he was just going to be in the background somehow.
Right.
Like Blade's daughter now or some crap.
Yeah, because I read in one of the comics, I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was that Blood Hunt. That Blade has a daughter, and I think that's who they wanted to put in the Blade movie. She was going to be like the star. So
and I believe Wesley Snipes' Blade is supposed to appear in Daredevil as well.
Daredevil's going to be a movie.
Not Daredevil, Deadpool.
Deadpool. Oh, okay.
It says came in and says they're just trying to figure out how to turn a violent vampire woke, but the fact that it was a rated R film is what sold it. Because Blade is a violent character. So do it the right way. It still wasn't comic accurate, but it worked. The way they did it, it worked.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie. All 3 of them, they were fun to watch.
I never saw the Blade movies. I was watching, what was it, the Blade cartoon? We was trying to watch for a little while. That was okay.
Yeah.
It was on YouTube, but it was only bits and pieces, so we never really got to see the whole thing.
And Kelly says Squirrel Girl or Ant-Man. Ant-Man.
Yeah.
He could shrink and go in her ear and then expand and blow her head up. Yeah.
Never had better whistler, so forget it. Oh.
I never liked the first Deadpool, so I never saw any of the other ones. But I saw the first Deadpool. I really don't remember hardly anything from it except for a couple of really vulgar scenes that I wish I hadn't seen. But I didn't care for it, so I never saw the other, because this would be the 4th film with Deadpool. And whatever. Maybe it's better. Maybe they've changed some things, but I wouldn't know. Hank says Blade versus Batman. Who wins? Batman, because Batman always wins. Batman beat the Punisher. Batman beat Predator. Batman beats everybody ultimately.
Something that I saw about a month or 2 ago: Superman and Batman license are coming up. They're about to become a public domain, so anybody can get their characters.
It looks like they already are.
Yeah, and then they can start crossing them over with other titles like Marvel and whatever else. So I don't know how that's gonna look, what they're gonna do to them.
Open source.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. They're already ruining everything, so I guess it really doesn't matter. Either DC will ruin them, let Marvel do it, or somebody else do it. Either way.
Or they can reobtain the licensing, because who is it? Disney went through that. Disney went through that with the Mickey Mouse character, because the original Mickey Mouse like strips, like newspaper strips, whatever, that expired,
Mm.
and somebody snapped it up and printed it in comic books, and in the late 80s or early 90s, and it was called Uncensored Mouse.
Mm.
And he got as far as 2 issues before Disney finally negotiated buying him out to stop him, because the original Mickey Mouse, the way he was written, was pretty violent. He
Oh,
was running
really?
around chasing people with a shotgun and just crazy stuff. Because I bought those issues, and Disney managed to reacquire it from him.
Hmm.
So yeah, it remains to be seen. It's just a matter of who's going to be savvy enough to get on it and buy it off fast enough.
I hope Disney doesn't buy Superman or Batman, because you know where that's going.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Predator loses the
The
little girls now.
little girl,
So,
little 90-pound Indian girls.
oh God,
Gilgamesh says his dog just noticed the fireworks
she's not
going off.
happy.
No, I bet they're not.
Yeah,
I bet they're not happy.
scamming
Yeah, we
some people.
went to the thrift store today,
Oh yeah,
and we had a little bit of luck. She she doesn't have them down here, but she found a
I
stack
found a
of vinyl
bunch
records.
of records.
Stack, because there's always vinyl records, right?
Oh.
But also Schoolhouse Rock on VHS, Science Rock, and Multiplication
VCR.
Rock. But it's Schoolhouse Rock. Schoolhouse Rock on VHS, Multiplication and Science Rock. And the Multiplication Rock is like one of my favorites from out of this series. And this is actually how I learned to do the multiplication tables. But this stuff is classic. We rewatched this not too long ago, last year, because I had the complete series on DVD. Yeah, on DVD. And I dug and dug and dug because there were shopping carts full of VHS cassettes.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, you got to have the other ones. They didn't. But I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist because of how nostalgic that is. And then this, just for the hell of it, a piece of the action at the pinnacle of really bad 70s blaxploitation films. I give you a piece of the action starring Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier, and James Earl Jones in a really, really bad comedy.
And those are some good actors.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Sidney Poitier movies, like the early ones, and they were really good.
But he did that. Yeah. Sidney Poitier, for some reason, we go from being an Oscar winner. Okay. Yeah. Sidney Poitier's won Oscars and done like top rated films, especially in the 60s.
Yeah.
He did some great films. To doing this, and he was producing them. You know, he was producing this stuff, and it's awful. This belongs on riff tracks, but you know, you hardly ever see this kind of stuff, and I couldn't resist picking it up just for the history of it. But yeah, you gotta wonder. I wonder what happened. He was like, "Yeah, where are we gonna make my money at?"
He had to be making more money doing the good stuff.
I don't know. I would hope so. I mean, he won an Oscar. He won an Oscar in like 1965 or something. And then he goes, and then he does that stuff.
It's like erasing the legacy.
I guess so.
To me, that's what it feels like. I know I never heard about that.
No, I never heard
you got
that,
all kind of conspiracy theories out there.
Oh, Yoda versus Professor X. Professor X, because he's overpowered.
Oh, Kelly had Return of Jafar on VCR.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Return of Jafar. Because one isn't enough. I got them all on DVD. Disney went through this period in the 90s where they were making sequels to all unnecessary sequels to all of their animated films. Yeah, that's how you get Cinderella 2, 3, and 4 and stuff
Mulan,
like that. Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
But for some reason they went back to their classics and made sequels of many of them. Yeah. And I'm just like, you didn't need to. The film ended. Yeah. The film ended, and it's a classic. and you're trying to ride your own coattails. It didn't work. They went
They
through that period in the 90s where they made the
they had 3 Lion Kings.
Fox and the Hound 2 and 3, Dumbo 2, or whatever the hell they were doing. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And now they're on this trip where they want to make live action versions of all of their animated classics.
Films. Yeah.
And it's not taken off. It's not working.
Because nobody want to see that mess. How long does the VCR tapes last? When does the film disintegrate?
I've not had a problem with them. We do have a VHS player, that portable one.
Oh, yeah.
The one that's in a back. I have an original portable VHS player with a built-in TV in a big backpack. The thing's massive. And I've never had a problem playing that, because everybody says that, oh, they burn out, they don't work. They work fine as long as no one ever put a magnet to one of them. If you put a big magnet on a VHS cassette, you'll ruin it. But if as far as I've never really had a problem. Yeah, that's right, John. He says
it wasn't a decade ago.
He says years ago. Schoolhouse Rock, the History Edition. I think it was like a decade ago. Yeah. Oh, I see. Was that in one of our trivia contests?
Yeah, he won the trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He won the trivia contest.
Yeah, he won the trivia
Video cassette recorder, right? Damn, it's been like 20 years. So they stopped making them quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But that's solid state technology. It works, man.
Yeah,
it
sounds
works.
like modern Star Wars.
Yeah, unnecessary sequels. Let it end or do it right. Yeah. But those animated movies.
Well, Star Wars, not so much sequels. They just keep branching off. And they make all these branches.
Yeah, and then they don't fit. The stuff doesn't match. Like the last one, people are complaining like, hey, wait a minute, that guy wasn't even born for like 80 years from in the timeline of where you are. How can he be there? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, come on. DC's Cheetah or DC's Catwoman. Cheetah. Cat. She's another one that's been overpowered over the years, making her a match for like everybody. She was a jewel thief. In the original comics, she didn't even fight. She wasn't a physical person. She was just a cat burglar. And DC is there.
Hey DC, how are you? Got Conan reaction figures today for $4 each.
Where was this?
Probably at Walmart or Target or someplace like that. Or GameStop.
Ollie's has got a lot of that stuff dumped in there now.
Yeah, they got a lot of Marvel Legends.
Hey, that's the price to pay, man. I'm telling you.
Because we were at Ollie's last weekend, last Saturday, and man, they had so much Marvel Legends. It was just ridiculous the amount they had, and it still wasn't moving. The best thing Star Wars has done in the last 15 years is the regular repair guy.
Bubba Frick. Okay, worked on C-3PO. I haven't seen any of the modern incarnations. So I haven't watched any of those shows, not The Mandalorian, none of it. I haven't seen it because we don't have Disney Plus.
No.
What was I saying there? Oh yeah, the Ollies, because I did a short on that because the new Hasbro starting lineup editions have dropped to Ollie's. They're $7.99 a piece. The original retail was like $55 plus tax and shipping because they were only available through Hasbro. And they're not starting lineup figures, traditional Kenner starting lineup figures, which are figurines with a trading card attached. They did them like Legends figures and in Legends scale, but nobody was going to pay that price, and they ended up bottoming them out to Ollie's. So how much did Ollie's pay for them if they're selling them for $7.99?
Oh no, but boy, it's $7.99.
And they had what looked like the whole wave. They had like 5 or 6 different figures at least. John says, thanks for letting me be part of your channel's history. I loved winning the Schoolhouse Rock DVD. I was honored to win. That's a fun series. That's it. And sharing the nostalgia. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed that. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And it used to come on CBS between the cartoons, like in the commercial block between when one cartoon was transitioning to another, and they had that commercial block, they'd slip one of those in there just randomly. It might be multiplication, it might be History Rock, but those were well done.
But it was just so ridiculous how Congress complained because your kid was learning while watching cartoons.
Yeah, they
And
said you can't use cartoons to educate. That's how that series got canceled.
yeah.
Because there's a few on the disc that never made it on the air that were produced, but just no one saw them again until they were put on disc.
Oh, Star Wars is now trying to retcon the Force
The
and the
Sith.
Sith. Changing things going forward can work if done right, but rewriting the past only destroys what's
What's established. Yeah,
established.
because people, there's an established canon and people have an expectation. If you go outside of that expectation, all you do is frustrate your potential customers. Hank says he wished people would quit complaining about the canon in the Star Wars TV shows when George Lucas clearly said years ago in an interview the only true canon is the movies.
Mm.
He still sold it.
Mm-hmm.
And Munin says those starting lineups were a failure right out of the gate. Oddly enough, this goes back to the first comment they ever made on the channel. How long till the bottom falls out? We're there. Yeah, pretty much. We're getting close. Another nail in the coffin, as they say. Oh, come on. Star Wars Darth Maul or Marvel's Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider cannot die.
Mm.
Ghost Rider is technically indestructible. And Snever said, agree, Hank. Oh, he's talking to Hank.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Ghost Rider cannot die in Ghost Rider form.
Yeah, but people want to see just some continuity and stuff. And I understand what Hank is saying. George Lucas want everything to be contained to the movie, but when they started branching out, people want to see, okay, this has to connect. And it has to connect perfectly. And with Star Wars and Star Trek, those people are diehards. You can't make one mistake on the outfits,
Yeah.
on anything.
People still fight about I don't think there's a person yet that's a big diehard Star Wars fan that thinks any action figure has gotten the Stormtrooper right yet.
Mm-hmm.
They complain about every one of them. But, that's why I use the terminology when I talk about these things as being cultural phenomenons. And they were. I grew up in the Star Wars era.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cultural phenomenon. People were absorbing it.
Yeah.
It was that important. And when something was that important to you, even though it was in the past, you don't like to see it screwed around with. Go do something else.
Yeah.
Go do something else. Leave this alone. We'd rather never see another thing done again than have you screw with it. All of these things were cultural phenomenons. The Simpsons were. Look how huge the Simpsons were in the early 90s.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. When the Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy came out, they could have stopped right there. It was that worked out really well, and people were absorbed by it. Absolutely absorbed. Cultural phenomenon. That those things are very important because they resonate with people. And I've talked about this before. The problem is these companies look at the franchise. Oh, Display Name has joined us.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the franchise in terms of its financial value. How much can we get out of this?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Let's put this in a box. How much money can we make? Instead of looking at it in terms of what made it a cultural phenomenon in the first place. And if you tapped into that, the money will come later. What made it a cultural phenomenon? And I've used the example of like Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to pick it up kind of where they left off. They wanted it to fit with the original films of Karate Kid. And they managed to pull it off because that's what they were looking for. Without just doing fan service, okay, like Ghostbusters, I forget which Ghostbusters, the one before the last one, because the last one didn't do well, but the one before that where they did a lot of fan service, but it really didn't feel like Ghostbusters. But Cobra Kai managed to make it feel like, okay, this is really 20 years later. Or I've mentioned several times about Wrath of Khan.
Hey,
and My Flock is here.
Happy 4th.
where Wrath of Khan, the chief writer there, he didn't know anything about Star Trek. He never saw it. And he was like, I'm not going to screw this up. He went and watched every episode of the original Star Trek to see if anything resonated. What could be a good continuation where I'm going to make the people who love this so much happy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, I'm really feeling this episode. I wonder if Ricardo Montalban is available. And he was. He was still filming Fantasy Island, so they had to break it up. I mean, if you didn't notice, William Shatner and Ricardo Montalban were never in the same room together.
Mm.
They couldn't meet in person. So they had to film separately, but they still made it work. But that's the best Star Trek film ever made because the writer cared enough. What made this so important to the people who loved this movie? Let's start there. The money will come, but no, yeah, if you build it, they will come. But but no, they look at it and say, "Oh, franchise, let's just make money. We'll make pots of money. Oh, let's do this and this to it." No, you're going to screw it up
Mm-hmm.
ultimately. And Lou says, excellent point. The whole world went from trying to make kids happy with cool toys to what kind of piece of crap we can make and maximize the dollar, no, no matter who complains. And you can't complain to them. They
Mm-mm.
used to listen.
Mm-hmm.
They used to listen to you. Like you see the three, I've mentioned these before, three different versions of the Shogun Warriors Godzillas by Mattel, right? There's three versions because of consumer complaints, problems. They kept making changes to improve the quality. People would write in, hey, the switch broke off. Hey, this happened. And they were like, all right, let's fix it. Let's make this a little different for next time. They don't do that anymore. You
Mm-mm.
complain and they tell you to run a hair dryer over the figure next time. Boil it in some water, spray some WD-40 on it, suck it up. And it's like, you paid how much for this stuff? Give me a
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
All elbows are breaking, knees are breaking. Some of you have seen the video where fresh out of the box, the Mondo 40th anniversary He-Man snapped in half. Can't be fixed. No hair
Mm-hmm.
dryer was going to save that. I mean, seriously. Go ahead.
Yeah, in the quest of making pots of money, they went broke in the process in more ways than once.
Yeah.
One, because that's what these companies do. They try so hard to make all this money and they want to just continuously change and modernize and flow with the time and just ruin everything.
And it doesn't work and they keep trying to force it. And it's like that messed you up. And then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to turn and you're going to blame the fans. Oh, it's because you're racist. It's because this, that, whatever excuse they come up with. Oh, and My Flock made a donation to the channel.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you,
my
My
flock.
Flock. Very much appreciated.
Yeah. But
they force these changes, and then when they don't work, and the people complain, "Hey, we didn't like your movie," they blame the fans,
mm-hmm.
and all you're doing is alienating your fan base on top of everything else by insulting them on top of, in addition to what you've
But I
already
wonder
done.
how many people really watch or stop watching this stuff. Who watches those movies? Can you get, or TV shows, can you actually get an accurate count of how many people are watching these shows? Like all of the the Star Wars movies, TV shows
Mm-hmm.
that's come out. How many people are actually watching it?
Well, they can monitor how many TVs are on.
Yeah, but
they can do that nowadays.
yeah,
So that's why they don't need Nielsen
anymore.
But and that's also how they fake. A little bit of a rabbit hole here. That's how they fake views on news and sports channels.
Yeah,
Because in bars and restaurants, the TVs are just on. Each one counts.
mm-hmm.
If you've got if you go to Applebee's and they've got 15 big screens up and they're all on the baseball game, that's 15 views and no one's looking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So news and sports are faked. The numbers are faked that way. But as far as regular television, nobody's playing Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show on TVs all over the place and in Walmart and everywhere.
Mm-mm.
So they can get a fairly accurate count of how many people looked at it, and that's how come they keep getting lower numbers.
Mm.
McJunkin said Marvel Firestar versus Marvel's The Human Torch. Human Torch.
Mm. It's what happens when shareholders and
Mhm.
investors don't do it for the love of the product and it's just for
Just for
profits.
profit,
Everything is now disposable.
says Lou. Yeah, and that's the thing. They don't care.
No.
They don't want to know. They don't even want to know. And like I said, at least with for example, the one that I mentioned, the writer for Wrath of Khan, he he didn't know anything about Star Trek, but he cared enough. He had enough integrity, as it were, as a writer, to want to do the best job that he could. And he sat there and he says, "Okay, I really, really want to do this right. So I'm gonna find out about Star Trek. I'm gonna see what it is these people love so much about this TV show, this franchise." And he made it work. These people don't care. And they look at it, unfortunately, also as a platform for pushing their own personal social agendas, their own personal social agendas. They're like, okay, well, I feel this way about this social justice bullshit, so I'm going to write it in, and nobody stops them. Nobody stops them, and it kills it. I don't want to hear about that. You're going. We're in an era now where it's forced down our throats everywhere. Even in sporting events, movies, television shows, magazines. Whatever you got, comic books, they're forcing it. But all of those things were created to give people an escape from reality, not to force us to be confronted by your view of that reality. We're trying to escape from it, which is why, like on this channel, we try not to talk politics or social stuff very much. I mean, it coming up for the point of discussion here briefly, but we try to stay away from that because there should be a sanctuary. Everybody needs a sanctuary where they can escape from it. You can't get away from it in most things now in media, like I was saying. And Kelly made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Kelly. Always appreciate it, and goes a long way towards helping us with all of our shelter pets too. A lot of we have a lot of cats right now. We have 20 that we're taking care of. Um, and we're waiting on Halo House because we work with a place called Halo House that helps us with adoptions. And so hopefully sometime in the near future here, we'll be down to about 10 or 11. But yeah, we take in abandoned or seriously harmed, as it were, cats that have been abused. Some of you are familiar with Hobo, had all his teeth knocked out. He's got no teeth. But he's doing great, by the way. But yeah, every little bit counts, and we appreciate it. Munin says, truthfully, I know a bunch of people who no longer watch any of these movies or shows. Judging by how Ollie's looks, I'd say there's not many collectors for the products left either. Well, if the show's popular, people are going to want to buy, um, are going to want to buy product if it's popular, and people are getting sick of it. They're not producing anything anybody wants. I mean, and also there's so much repetition. How many stormtroopers do you need? How many He-Mans do you need? Give me a break. Give me a break. And Kelly says everything's disposable, especially us men. And then John says Mortal Kombat, Raiden, or DC's Black Vulcan. Raiden, because Raiden is nigh immortal. He's nigh immortal. And let me catch up a couple more here. Oh, Kelly says they always give black characters lightning powers. Do they? Hadn't thought about it. And DC says, I think there needs to be a balance on social justice and franchise. Gene Roddenberry put a lot of social in TOS, and it was controversial at the time. He did a little bit of that with the Next Generation, mostly. But keep in mind, he wasn't really writing at that time, but he was trying to do a lot of influence. And Kelly says, that's awesome. A kitty bit his nose the other night, but she was very nice aside from that. The last one we just took in, number 20, as some of you are aware, was the little black one that someone, a neighbor actually lives way down the street there, came to us with it because I guess they know we took care of cats, because I never met this woman, and drove to work and heard weird noises, and turns out there was a kitten in her engine, and he was burned. So his paws had little scabs, but the scabs are healed up nicely now though, but they're permanently discolored. But he's a sweetheart, little bundle of energy. And Gilgamesh says a rainbow. Oh, I jumped off here. I was trying to open Gilgamesh real quick. It says I find it hypocritical that the people that scream the most about diversity, people that demand the conformity. Yeah, rules for thee, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And he did order the Black Series Pod 1 girl. I don't have any Pod 1s, and she's already gone down in price before even coming out. That's kind of like all that stuff on Super 7 on Big Bad Toy Store, that even the pre-orders were on clearance.
Yeah.
Because we announced that on the weekly roundup of almost a month ago now. So if anybody was looking for that, you know what I mean? If anybody was looking for anything from Super 7, it's kind of sad that aftermarket, most of it, there are some things that'll surprise you, but most of it aftermarket, it doesn't do well from Super 7. Kelly says Star Trek was classy. They actually told a story like a parable. Now the justice has lost all meaning. They just want to hurt people, and of course they start at the youngins. Yeah, they get them while they're young. My mother used to say that. I think that was the Jesuits. Who knows where that's from? My mother always used to say, "Get them while they're young," and then the other guy says, "I believe that was the Jesuits," and then he says, "Oh, they might have got that from her." Who knows where those lines are from? Let's see if anybody can get a kudos point tonight. Unit says figures going down in price while on pre-order. Order is the new norm.
Yes.
They've taken note of. Hasbro was not the only company this happens with. Not a good sign. No, it's not.
No.
It's not like it hasn't always been clearanced out stuff, because we all remember the wonderful red-lined merchandise at KB Toy Store.
Yeah, and we got a lot of figures that still have the price tag on it, and it's the clearance tag. And now those figures goes for hundreds of dollars.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah. I know I must have something here with red lines from KB. Yeah. In case someone's younger or doesn't know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, it got to be somewhere.
Or reduced price tag.
Yeah. But, stuff go on clearance, but it just seems like now people are just so disinterested in a lot of things. David, who was your favorite superhero, villain, or character? And what is yours, LPH, favorite superhero, villain, or character?
Favorite superhero, I like the weird. And villain, I like Lobo, although it depends on who's writing them. See, like right there, see Return of the Jedi tri-logo card, and there you see, there it is, the KB red line, 2 for $1. God, 2 for $1. Oh, makes you want to pass out.
I like Green Arrow.
Yeah,
I like the Green Arrow. I'm actually reading that right now. Well, I had to stop reading it until I get the rest of the series, but I'm reading the Green Arrow. I like the Green Arrow character. I like characters that got a lot of depth to them. Like Swamp Thing is a good character.
I don't know if you can see that one.
Man Thing was a good character. Villain.
It's another KB 2 for $1.
I like the Mad Viking. He was hilarious.
That Mad Viking is hilarious from Man Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mad Viking is an old dude, real big and muscular and tough. And he didn't like wimpy men.
No.
Basically.
No.
And he would beat them to death.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah. But he was a villain. Man Thing couldn't kill him because he wasn't afraid of Man Thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid of nobody.
Because he who knows fear burns
burns.
at the touch of the Man Thing.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Man Thing couldn't kill him because he didn't have fear.
Yeah.
He stood up to any and everybody. But I liked him as a villain because he was funny. He was a funny villain. And I'm trying to think of some other villains. I like the ones that are misunderstood. The misunderstood villains like Mr. Freeze.
Uh huh.
He's a sad character, very misunderstood. I like him, you know. So
That's from the cantina scene in Star Wars. He doesn't like you. I don't like you either. That's from Star Wars. The one I'm talking about is from Unleashed. Jet Li and Unleashed.
oh,
That was a good movie. That
mm-hmm,
was a good movie. That was Unleashed I was talking
mm-hmm.
about. I don't know about that. That would have to be new. Deadpool with
Mm.
Man Thing to help him kill everyone, I think. I don't know. I don't know any of the modern stuff.
Yeah, because I only read Man Thing up to the what Bronze Age, through the
Yeah,
Bronze Age.
that's where it belongs.
Yeah, yeah.
Bronze Age writing. But we read gold, silver, bronze, copper.
Mm-hmm.
We don't rarely, hardly ever dabble in the modern stuff because the writing is so light. They rely more on the art than the writing, and the art's not that good,
Yeah,
anyways.
no.
It's like terrible.
Yeah,
It's terrible. But
yeah.
yeah, that's what are you gonna do? But yeah, gosh, villains.
I'm trying to think of some
Hmm.
more. Excuse me, some more villains. I've read a bunch, but I kind of merged
And I
it
had already
all.
mentioned I like Scarface and the ventriloquist.
Oh yeah, we
Hmm.
when we were at Ollie's, we didn't see well, they did have comics, but they were all merely the new ones.
Oh, he's
You
talking
know,
about the
the
omnibus though.
omnibus. Yeah, we never really look at
That's
the
not
omnibus.
bad. That's not
Yeah,
bad, Gilgamesh at
yeah,
all. Sure.
yeah. And Amazon has cheap omnibus. That's where I got my Man Thing omnibus for like $50 because I went to the comic book shop, and they wanted like $130 for it.
Hmm.
And on eBay they had it, not eBay, Amazon they had it brand new for like $50. So
Okay.
yeah, Amazon has some cheap omnibus and stuff like that. You can even get comics off of there. I bought comics on Amazon.
Another character that was really interesting that they didn't do anything else with from DC was Haywire.
Mm.
And Haywire, he had armor, and it would appear on him from nowhere. It would teleport to him and appear on him, but he didn't
Mm-hmm.
know he was Haywire
Mm.
because he had split personality disorder. You find that out later on in the comic,
Mm-hmm.
in the series, that like because he didn't know why he was tired all the
Yeah.
time and he didn't understand what was going on. Turns out that he was more than one person,
Oh.
and one of them was Haywire, but he didn't know that either. The other personality didn't know either. So the, he was two different people, but turns out it was three because one of them could call up the Haywire costume,
Mm.
and that one didn't speak.
Mm.
So the two personalities of the split personality didn't know there was even a third one. It was weird, but it was fairly well written.
I didn't know Jackie Chan had a
An
alien
alien movie.
movie.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, if you read the background of Skeletor, he's very misunderstood. Now he's a good villain once you understand his origin and his backstory when he was Keldor and all of the things
Oh
that
yeah,
happened
yeah.
to him. But you got to really dig to even find that stuff. I was looking it up because I wanted to look up more about Keldor,
Hmm.
and then I found they have three different story lines for him, and they're all pretty good. Um, but once you got to the filmation cartoons and even the comic books, they don't talk about it at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't
they
talk about
glaze
him.
over that
Yeah,
that
they
whole
do.
aspect of it.
Workday here in
Uh oh,
Canada.
Severus has to work.
Yeah, night all. See ya.
Oh, we glad you could join us.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, there's a
Sin City, Batman, Dark Knight, and Big Guy, and Rusty the Boy Robot.
I like Solomon Grundy. I if he's done right, if
Mm-hmm.
he's done right, because sometimes I don't know what again, different writers get hold of different characters
Yeah.
and they try things.
I
But
liked him in Long Halloween.
yeah, Solomon Grundy born on a Monday,
Yeah.
and
I,
that's all he said.
yeah.
Basically, that's all
Yeah.
he said, and all he wanted was to just be left
Alone.
alone,
And the
left
Batman
alone.
bring him some food.
Yeah, Batman brought him a turkey dinner.
Yeah.
He's like, and the one guy hid down in there, down in the subway in the Long Halloween, and he was like, "Actually, I need to get you out of here." And Solomon Grundy shows up, and he's like, "Grundy, let me have him. I'll make sure he doesn't bother you anymore. You can be by yourself." And just talked him down. I thought that was interesting.
I saw the Morbius movie, the one with Jared Leto.
Man, they rushed the hell out of that. They crammed it. They crammed it.
Yeah, they did. They did cram it, but his story was tragic because they made it sound like it was an accident. Everything that happened to him
Mm-hmm.
was an accident, and
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty sad. I never read anything about him in the comics to actually know what's going on. As a Skeletor fan, were you ever tempted to get the tweeter head? I have no, not the
Not the
bus.
bust.
I don't have the bus. I
Mm-hmm.
have
You have He-Man and
uh
Battle Cat.
I have He-Man and Battle Cat, and I have a Skeletor statue. Is the
Sideshow.
sideshow, and I have the one
Skeletor,
from MFA.
Evelyn,
Yeah, and I got Evelyn, but we're
and
talking about Skeletor
Orko.
now, and the Keldor from MFA. It's and you can switch the head for it to be Skeletor.
Mm-hmm.
I have those.
I like Doctor Doom too.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Doom. And Kelly's talking about Sandman as a decent villain, but so basic it hurts. Sandman from
DC. Oh,
Marvel,
Marvel.
the Marvel, not the demigod from DC, but the Marvel villain version.
Yeah, most likely it'll be a Saturday one.
Uh huh.
Unless something come up, but as far as we can tell right now, it should be something going on Saturday.
Okay. And Kelly says, Mr. Sinister, I don't know much about his origin. I don't remember either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember too much about Mr. Sinister either. But then they, and they jerked that character around too, in recent years. But
Yeah.
what are you going to do? And John says you could say every one of the villains from all the various groups were either misunderstood or had some kind of tragic history, especially Batman villains,
Yeah.
because almost every single one of them, they they had a nervous breakdown at some point, and that's how come they ended up the way they are. If you really look at it, something snapped.
Mm-hmm.
Something snapped. All of them, whoever you're looking at, Mad Hatter, Joker,
Mm-hmm.
Clayface. Something tragic happened that made them snap off,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems to be his lot, and that's why basically all of his villains end up at Arkham, which apparently you can escape from whenever the hell you feel like it.
Yeah.
And just walk out of there.
Yeah.
Nobody, oh, you don't understand, Batman. The Joker threatened my family. He was in jail.
Well, he got connections
I
outside.
guess so. That's like that one episode of the Batman the Animated Series where he showed up for this one guy. I'm trying to remember. He the guy flipped him off in traffic or something like that, and he followed him, and then he let him go for a favor.
Oh
And then like
yeah.
5-6 years later, he shows up. Hey, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And wanted him to do a favor for him, stalking him.
Once pants, Solomon Grundy slams his fist on the table and yells, "Solomon Grundy wants pants too."
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The network, the Cartoon Network reworks of those, and they did they made fun of how useless Zan and Jaina really are. I remember
Yeah.
those. And he's like, Solomon Grundy want pants too, because he always had that accent when he was in the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, yeah, you can't properly represent them. That's why
Hmm.
I like the animated stuff because you can show them better,
Yeah.
you know. And
Some things don't translate well to live action. It doesn't
yeah,
seem to make sense anymore.
yeah, that's why with DC was starting to talk about, their projects for the future, and they talked about what's those monsters from GI, was it GI Combat? And they had those monsters in there. God, I can't think of the name of those monsters, but they talked about,
Monster Squad.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they talked about doing those. And I'm like, man, I hope they don't do a live action
because I
movie
mean
of
it's
that.
literally the Universal monsters, pretty much.
Yeah,
It's like Dracula and Frankenstein and Wolfman
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. And I'm like, oh man. And then they talked a little bit about doing the Blackest Night. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I read part of that comic. I really couldn't get into it. But I read some of it. And I'm like, oh, y'all can't do no Blackest Night with all of the things that was going on. And it's not unless they pick out a section
Hmm.
and just do that, or do it as a TV show or something. But still, I don't think that will translate properly. Interesting how heroes can become evil, like the Colossus Juggernaut, and Colossus got the crystal and it made
Uh-huh.
him
Spiky.
spiky.
And Hank says Deadpool versus Ra's al Ghul. Deadpool. Deadpool can't die.
It's pretty primal,
Hmm.
opposite of Hugh.
Bizarro's an interesting character again if he's done right.
Keeps Eddie
Um,
Brock alive for like 200 years before the poor guy turns into dirt.
Eddie, not Venom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, DC says, do you think Mattel still owns the rights to the Outer Space Men? Seems like a cash cow if they reissued these because the originals are impossible to obtain.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Actually, no, no, no. Outer Space Men?
Mm-hmm.
You mean the? I think Color Forms had the rights to those, didn't they? And they're compatible with Major Matt Mason, but I thought Color Forms had the rights to those. John says, I suppose as kids we need only one dimensional superheroes and villains, but as we mature, we try to make sense and understand why each turned out the way that they did.
Yeah, that's true. Because when you're a kid, you're just watching the show and, oh, he's cool. Oh, I like this about him or that about him. But then as you become adults, you get more mature. You
Yeah.
say, oh, everything got to have a meaning. Now you got to know, why is Skeletor that way? Why is Cobra Commander? Who does he work for? All of this and that. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, So
Mm-hmm.
remember Mystery Men, the
Yeah, the Shoveler, Mystery
shoveler.
Men. That was a parody movie where the
Mm.
people had powers, but the powers were all really stupid.
Oh.
What's his name? Paul Rubin was in it. Pee Wee Herman,
Mm-hmm.
and his ability was he had really horrible flatulence,
Mm.
and he could make people pass out with it and stuff. And and it was written by the same guy who used to write Flaming Carrot
Okay.
before Dark Horse Comics took it over. I can't remember his name. Bob, was it Bob something? We met him at the Atlanta Comic Convention because
Oh,
he
did
he
we?
lives near there. We've talked to him a couple of times.
Oh, okay.
But the Mystery Men, that's from his comic. He wrote those, and it
Mm.
was adapted for the film. But he had other characters in the comic version
Mm-hmm.
that were equally as stupid but fun. Like he had one guy, I can't remember the name of the character, but he was a really accurate guesser.
Mm-hmm.
That was his ability. If he took a wild guess, 9 times out of 10 he's right, and that was his superpower.
Oh my God.
One of the characters in the movie um, could turn invisible, but only if no one was looking at him. If they were looking at him, he was too self-conscious and he turned visible again. But if he's sure that nobody could see him,
Mm-hmm.
he would really turn invisible. It's just stupid, useless powers. But they had, if you lump enough useless powers together, you can get something effective out of it.
I guess
Is
so.
what the film was basically about.
Gilgamesh always wanted the bad guy to win at least once. You know the thing that kind of annoyed me, and it happened almost on every cartoon where the two sides had to come together
Oh,
and work together
yes.
for a common cause. And they always did end up working well together and they accomplished their goals, and then they went back and did whatever they
Did
did.
whatever they did. My
Yeah.
favorite was actually with the Toy Master on GI
Oh
Joe,
yeah, yeah.
and they had to come together and they beat him at the end, and then GI Joe, Cobra Commander, they were like, "Well, go on. You may as well take off." And he was like, "Why? So you can shoot us down as we leave?" And he was like, "All right, fine. We'll leave first." Oh, so that you could turn around and get us while we're all still on the ground. They just couldn't cooperate. That was one of the few times where Cobra wasn't the villain.
Yeah, they weren't. No, it wasn't. And then another time when they weren't the villain is when they had got a message that the guy was coming to clean the windows. And he kept sending these messages, I'm coming on this day at this time. And they thought it was Cobra. And they kept going to all of their bases and hideouts and stuff.
And it was there, and it's like on the phone.
Yes.
This is the Viper.
Yeah, something like that.
2323.
Yeah.
He just say because he was scheduling to come and clean the windows.
Yeah.
Somebody cosplayed as him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the dumpy overalls and the big hat and the buckets. I saw the photos. Like, I am the Viper.
Yeah, and then
perfect.
the person that forgot to tell them, oh yeah, someone's coming to clean the windows on this day, and they had revealed like after everything happened. Oh yeah, I forgot. Windows are supposed to get.
That's when
cleaned.
you found out that Cobra had a vacation plan for their soldiers.
Well, they had a health care because they had a whole brochure. They had
And
a
I
whole
remember them
benefits
reading
plan.
through it. He was like, "They've got a dental plan,"
Yeah.
and then Flint is like, "Put that down, soldier." Because I've talked about it before. If you're really paying attention, at least on the cartoon, because the comics is a separate entity entirely. But on the Sunbow cartoon, Cobra is the military organization, and the GI Joes, they're like mercenaries. Essentially, very few of them are actually military. I mean, come on, Quick Kick. They found him on a movie shoot, running around in Antarctica in his pants and nothing else.
And the sailor, what's his
Eating
name?
fudgy bars. Shipwreck. Shipwreck was just hanging out in a bar somewhere. I mean, these guys were not in the military. Most of them aren't military. They just kind of joined GI Joe. They're really the mercenary unit, and Cobra kicks the shit out of them. But then by the end of the episode, there's some conflict in the upper echelon of the Cobra hierarchy of command that causes them to lose ultimately. Otherwise, they'd win every time. It's kind of funny when you think about it that way. GI Joe, they're disorganized. They don't follow the chain of command. They're not soldiers, most of them. They're disorganized, and then Cobra is organized, structured military organization. They're very successful, but then somebody decides, oh well, I'm going to be in charge now, or somebody pisses someone off, and then they blow it. That's what blows it. It's funny when you think about it that way.
It's like my tragic childhood where my parents threw away my comic book collection,
Oh, no.
causing me to turn villainous, dissecting donuts before eating them with no remorse.
What's wrong with you, John?
Krang is weird. He's just a brain inside of a stomach.
And Oafs, yeah. And Munin says, growing up in the late 90s and 2000s, the anime characters I liked were anything but one-dimensional. I enjoy them till this day. Well, hey, I'm still hung up on Star Blazers. I love
Hmm.
Star Blazers.
Yeah, because Deathlock, I liked him. Leader Deathlock.
Oh yeah, Deathlock.
Yeah, I like him.
Although in the third season the voices have all
Oh
changed.
yeah,
That's
that
the
is
one
all
thing.
stupid.
Yeah, that well, no, I mean it's still good writing,
Yeah, but the
but
voices
you,
are
it
dumb.
doesn't feel right because of the voices.
Yeah,
But
the Roadrunner got on my nerves.
the characters, the characters and the plot, how deep the plot runs, and how adult
Yeah,
the themes actually are in a lot of those episodes. Even though they dumbed it down for the English translation, they don't want to tell you certain things. Like
yeah,
instead of drinking wine, they're drinking spring water,
yeah.
stuff like that. Um,
Or when that Marine blew up and everybody saw it, they said he was fine and in the sick bay
yeah, they
or
said,
something
"Oh,
like
he
that.
made it back," and you never saw him
And you're
again.
like, how did he make
He
it
didn't
back?
make it back. He was dead. He knew he wasn't coming back. And he told he
Wildstar.
told Derek, yeah, he was like, "Get out of here! I got it! I got it! I got it!"
Yeah.
And he knew he wasn't going to get out of there, and he had the trigger, and he was like, "Well, here we go," and he just snapped it, and you saw him engulfed in flames.
Yeah,
You
I saw him
know,
blow up.
yeah.
It's him with my eyeballs. He blew up.
Or that they're robot soldiers. They're not robots. They're not robots.
You see the people in
You
them.
see them dying and screaming and whatever. They're not robots, okay? But that's just how they changed it to for the American audience.
But that was so weird that you would dumb the kids down like that, making it seem like, oh, these people never die, they can't die.
Mm-hmm.
But then they got like the video games where they're killing up everybody, all of the movies, everybody's killing up everybody. It's just unrealistic that you're gonna have GI Joe and Cobra, they're shooting at each other and they always miss, but they
Can't
can
hit
hit the
anything.
plane and then the plane crashes and then the person runs out. And
Yeah.
all of these weird things, and it's like, come on now.
Well,
You know.
but look at how dumbed down the audience was, because look what happened when the Transformer movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of
And
the
Prime
film,
died.
yeah, and Prime died, and everybody hated. That was the best writing that Transformers has had in its entire incarnation to that point, and the best animation. And everybody was mad because Transformers were actually dying in the movie, not just Optimus. There were others, but
Yeah, and
but
those were robots.
yeah, they were machines and they were dying. But and it had such an impact that it caused a ripple,
Mm-hmm.
because the GI Joe film,
Yeah, Duke died.
Duke died in that movie, but they changed it. Oh, somebody. Oh, I just heard on the radio Duke's going to be okay. You never see Duke. You
Yay!
never see Duke again, do you? That's
No.
because he's dead. And then Jason the Wheeled Warriors. They never concluded the show
No, Dad
because
just up and left.
they were going to make another movie for Jace.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Hasbro had in mind, because it was all Sunbow. There was Transformers movie, GI Joe movie, Jason the Wheeled Warriors movie to conclude all three shows. That was going to be a film in the theaters. And after the debacle with Transformers and then the alterations to GI Joe, they sat there and said, "Oh, and by the way, everyone in Cobra Law died in GI Joe at the end of that movie because it blew up. Globulus and all of them were killed." But then Jason the Wheel Warriors, it never got past the script because they were like, you know what? Let's not even do the film. Let's
Mm-hmm.
not even do it. So because at the end of it, of course, his father was going to die. The main villain was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
People were going to die at the end of this
Mm-hmm.
because they were going to conclude the series. And so people never got to find out what happened at the end of Jason the Wheeled Warriors. The very last episode leaves you hanging.
Mm-hmm. I guess the Four Horsemen acquired the Outer Spacemen license and has released versions on the something bodies. Who knew?
Glythos bodies. Yeah,
Oh.
but they might not, because they've done the X-ray astronaut from Fisher Price Adventure People. without Fisher Price's licensing.
Mm-hmm.
And they've also done versions of Masters of the Universe
Mm.
with because like Battle Cat Man and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
characters that look like they belong in Masters of the Universe without Mattel licensing. So they've done like a different enough version, but you can tell what it is. Eric Peter says he loved collecting comics, but always struggled that they are packed away, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't see them where I can spend money on something I can display and see every day. Does that make sure it does? Sure, it makes sense
Yeah.
because you can't always see it.
Mm-mm. I mean, you got some people, and I've seen like tours of people comic room, and they put some of them up on the wall, and the
Mm-hmm.
way they got it, they can switch it out. You can
Yeah,
try things like that if you have the
rotate.
space for it. And it's the same with the toys because we got a ton of toys. We can't see them all, but we
Yeah,
rotate them out. The comics never get
we do the best we
airtime.
can.
Yeah. um you know, and I hate that part. I wish some of them I could put up on the wall, especially the ones that has like really nice covers, but
Yeah, and
you
that's
know,
also part of the allure of getting graded too,
yeah, because they're in a
because and
case
then
and all of
you
that.
can set it up and it looks all pretty.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh says he hated that Prime died, but he loved the movie. 5-year-old me loved the movie. Having real stakes made it better. It's still the only real Transformers movie ever made. Wow. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you were, because we're watching the original Transformers now, and it's really choppy animation, and characters appear and disappear. Uh, characters speak and it's the wrong voice. Weird stuff happens all through it, and you can tell it was really rushed.
Hmm.
It was really rushed. But the movie, they slowed down and they did a good job on it, so it
Yeah.
looks good, it sounds good, it has good music, because the soundtrack for the Transformers show isn't good either.
No,
Really, the
but
only
we're watching it
yeah,
though.
the voice, some of the voice acting isn't that great, but some of it is stellar, and so that's enough to carry it. But yeah, they hadn't done anything really great with Transformers until that movie, but everybody was
Yeah.
pissed.
The TV show, like I said, we are watching it. It's not horrible. It's better than I thought. I know that.
Hmm.
I thought it was going to be worse when we went back because I do remember watching it as a kid. I don't remember what Transformers was about when I was a kid. I
Uh-huh.
just remember watching it. So then when we started back watching stuff, I was like, oh man, I want to see Transformers. I was like, no, that's going to be really bad. That's going to be really bad. And then we watched G.I. Joe. We thought G.I. Joe was going to be really bad, and it actually wasn't.
Yeah.
So we gave Transformers a try, and at least
Some of it's okay and some of it's
yeah,
really wonky.
it has a
Hmm.
plot, it has a story, and it is a continuous story.
Hmm.
That I was surprised about. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is a continuous story. It does have a plot. But a lot of shows, like I thought the same thing about Dukes of Hazard, because I was like, man, I remember watching Dukes of Hazard, but I don't know what Dukes of Hazard was about. It doesn't have any plot. It doesn't, but it
And it does,
does
and
have
it's
a
actually
plot.
kind of fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's doofy, but it was funny, and each episode did have a plot. It
Hmm.
was far fetched. You knew
Final
what was going to
season,
happen.
though, the last
Yeah,
season 7, it's like they knew it was the end, and they just, I mean, they weren't even using real cars anymore. They were
no
model kits.
model
They
kits,
would jump.
model
They
trains.
jumped an oil rig. They jumped a house. I mean, it's stuff that jumped a train.
Yeah, but the long way.
There was an alien.
They had the
There was an
alien.
alien.
And then you know what really gets you
Uh
with
huh.
TV shows is you got all of these cliches that everybody hit. You got to have amnesia at some point.
Hmm.
Somebody gets amnesia. You get the aliens. You're always going to get kidnapped, and you're going to be tied up somewhere, and who knows how you're going to get free. You know, somebody's always going to end up in the hospital near death's door. you just got these points that it seems like you always have to hit.
Mm-hmm.
The lost love comes back to town, and it feels like
Oh
you're gonna
man.
get together. You threaten to leave with them, and then by the end, no, you need to stay here. You got so much work you have to do. We'll see each other again. Yeah, it's like whatever.
John says one more. Marvel's G.I. Joe team or DC's Sergeant Rock and Easy Company with the Blackhawk Squadron. Sergeant Rock and Blackhawk, because they're a lot more gritty.
Mm,
They were like blood and guts gritty in comparison to the Marvel
mm.
Comics version of G.I. Joe. Outer Space Zom says were done a few years ago by Four Horsemen have the baggy figures. I know commemorative editions were done some time ago for like a convention or something. And
Sea Dog.
he says, look at the beard.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
coming in.
it's going to mesmerize you. You're hypnotized by the beard.
Was done by a Canadian metal group, Kick Axe. Great band. They went
Oh,
by
the music.
the alias name for the
Mhm.
movie. Is that the same band that did the song? Because later on, a rock band sang the intro song for Transformers. We
Mhm.
saw that. I was watching somebody's YouTube channel, and they had like all of the Transformer. So they showed like the different eras, and they played the music for each era. And then they got to a later era. I want to say maybe the 90s Transformer, and then they played the music from that, and it was this full on rock heavy metal band.
Mhm.
It sounds good. But I was like, wow, where'd that come from? Making fun of my GoBots in Infinity
Affinity versus
versus
his
a.
admiration of the Transformer. Well, the GoBots made it up to market first.
Oh, okay,
Transformers are
yeah.
technically first because Takara had them as far back as 1974.
Hey,
Oh, Stone
Stone
Sour's
Sour.
here. Takara had Transformers as far back as 1974,
Mm-hmm.
before the word Transformers was being used.
Mm-hmm.
But Hasbro adapted them.
Mm-hmm.
But Tonka got GoBots to market and got the cartoon out before Hasbro managed to get Transformers out.
Mm.
But somehow they actually got ahead of GoBots in popularity. Probably because of better
Mm.
voices, and also the theme song for GoBots was terrible.
Really?
Yeah, the GoBots, the GoBots, the GoBots. I get it. Say something else. But it's they managed to pick up steam and get ahead of them, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, because Tonka beat them. Tonka beat them to the punch.
Mm. Yeah. But yeah, back to, and then I was reading a article, and they were talking about cliches
Hmm.
in movies. And when you watch different movies, it's always these certain things that they always show in movies that's just like and then as you read it, you're like, yeah, that is always in a movie.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Zom, he says Hasbro wrote Takara's tailcoat. A lot of companies adapted stuff from Japanese market, like the Shogun Warriors. Mattel
Power Rangers.
borrowed all of that from the Japanese market. Well, yeah, Power Rangers, but
Mm-hmm.
Bandai made them in Japan and the United States.
Oh,
They
that was
just
one.
they
Oh.
literally repackaged the exact same figures on American
Oh,
cards.
okay.
So, but yeah, Power Rangers, you could make that argument. Migos, Micronauts were
Mm.
adapted from Japanese toys. A lot of stuff was copied from Japanese toys, and it's like, because hey, the stuff already existed. The
Mm-hmm.
only difference being Hasbro and Mattel retooled things to make them cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
which Micronauts and Bandai did not do. But who's that? Oh, Paul's here.
Yeah, Paul.
But because I've talked about it before, the Shogun Warriors
Mm-hmm.
were a lot more glamorous in Japan with
Yeah.
Popey than with the Hasbro versions. They took away a lot of stuff and said, how can we cut this down? How can we take this away? Let's chop this off, and let's remove that, and let's change this. And Hasbro did the same thing with Transformers, and I've shown her Takara. She's got the Takara Megatron from
Yeah,
1974.
it's die
The
cast.
Walther P 38.
38.
Yeah, it's die cast and it shoots. And even like the vehicles from then were die cast and had little tiny men, little 4 points of articulated little action figures with magnets in them that could stick to the metal. And and Hasbro was like, it's too expensive. Let's just make everything plastic, get rid of the little men, take away all the shooting functions. They just chopped it to crap.
Yeah.
And Psalm says Takara got a wee bit mad with Hasbro just taking their designs, so the story goes.
I mean, I would be too, because Takara put a lot of effort into those figures, especially with the die cast and all of that. And then you got this other company that just take your stuff, cheapen it up with plastic and all of that. And then they charge you probably more. And then it was more popular, well, in the United States,
Uh-huh.
probably in Europe too. So it went farther for a cheaper knockoff.
I'm not picking on you, GoBots, John. It's a cool series, actually. It is. And they made a lot of other transforming stuff as well, like the Rock Lords. Of course, those are rocks, but I've got Rock Lords. I don't have a problem with Tonka. Paul says, what do you think of the 30th anniversary Street Sharks Mattel re-released? That's a re-release I can kind of get behind, okay, because they're very similar to the original figures.
Yeah.
And the packaging is also similar. And they're cheaper because the original Street Sharks are very expensive.
Really?
They're very expensive. It's not like one of these ones I'm always complaining about where like the reissue, the re-release or the modern release of Earthworm Jim costs 5 times as much as if you bought the original Playmates Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any damn sense to me. Or like just recently I did a video showing my Skeleton Warriors. There was a 20th anniversary series of Skeleton Warriors. They cost like 4 times as much. It doesn't make any sense when you can buy the vintage cheaper. Or Toy Biz X-Men and Fantastic Four and Spider-Man figures cost less than the commemorative editions that are being made by Marvel Legends. I mean, the sculpts are better, but I'd rather have the vintage figures. You can pick them up at the shows for like $5, $5-10 on the cards, So this is an example where the original versions, they cost a fortune in mint in the box. You'll pay an arm and a leg for them, but you can the modern ones you can get for a decent price, and they look very similar. Psalm says, has anybody ever noticed that Leonard knockoff Joes seem to hold up better than the vintage ones? I've got some of those.
Really?
The Leonard, yeah, I've shown it before. I've got the Leonard Space Force, and they look just like the raw GI Joes. See, it's Star Force, yeah. And look what you would get for $10. That price tag says $9.95, I think.
Those don't look like GI Joes.
Yeah, a raw era.
That's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's the same size and scale, and they're jointed the same exactly as a raw era GI Joes.
I remember you having that. I thought that was that cheap stuff you get from Kmart and Walmart and stuff.
It is.
Oh.
This is the alternative. This is what Nana got you when you said, oh, I really want the next wave of G.I. Joe. And then Nana goes and sees how much those cost and then looks at these and it's the same thing. He won't know the difference. That's how you ended up with these.
You always know the difference.
But they're actually pretty decent, although the file cards do not compare with actual G.I. Joe file cards by a long shot. And, they made a ton of this kind of stuff.
Speaking of re-releases, Hasbro seems to be bent on reissuing every Black Series figure. When they're done, those figures won't have any value left.
Gee, I know. What was interesting? Disney, their versions of the Star Wars Black Series figures were all die-cast.
Oh, really?
They were made out of die-cast. They're the highest quality of any of the modern Disney figures made, and they didn't sell.
Mm. Yeah,
Nobody.
isn't that stuff Warren that bought when we
Yeah,
went to the Disney store that one time?
yeah. My son
They were
Warren,
on
because they were
sale.
on clearance. They were on
Yeah.
clearance. They were like 80% off, and
Mm.
he bought a whole wave for himself. Zom says Japanese always made toys in such detail. Proud people making toys. They made
America
some
used
great
to be
stuff.
like that until
They
it
made
got
great
garbage.
stuff. And John says, at least my pet rock is still alive. I heard yours passed away from lack of care. No, they're
Oh
still in the package. They're
no.
still in the package. Oh, that's Migo. That's Migo like trying to type. He gets it there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's coming. He says Grandma did her best. No, she really didn't. But that's what they say. That's when they tell you it's the thought that
No,
counts. You
it
know what
ain't.
that means? That's the translation for it was a lousy gift.
Yeah, be like, here, I got you something.
Yeah.
At least I got you something.
Yeah,
That's what that toy is.
that's like in Family Ties when Michael decided, was it Michael? What was
I
his
don't
name
know.
on Family Ties?
Alex P. Keaton,
Alex. Yeah, I don't know where I get Michael from.
because it's Michael J. Fox.
That's right. Thank you. But when Alex didn't want to do Christmas, but then he changed his mind at the last minute, and the only place open was a convenience store,
Mm-hmm.
and so he was giving away like mouthwash and stuff.
You're the only person that will remember an episode of Family Ties. Oh my God.
Oh
Nobody
man.
else remembers that.
Munin says, true, those Disney cast metal Star Wars figures were dirt cheap on their site, and it took them a while to sell even at such low prices. But
Wow.
yeah, I mean, fully articulated Legends scale. Like, they looked like the Black Series. They were heavy. They were die cast. I thought they were decent quality, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody bought them, and they ended up on clearance. And that's when Warren bought his set.
I bet you they want them now.
I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, what are you going to do? I don't know how much the original retail was on them, but I think when he was buying them, they were like $7 a piece or
I
something.
remember that we had went to the mall in Illinois,
Yeah,
and
the
we were
Disney
in the
store.
Disney store,
Hmm.
and he bought a ton of that stuff. I do remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what they were then. I don't know what they are
I
now.
don't remember, but yeah, that was the highest quality Star Wars modern Star Wars figures that I have seen that were in the average price range. We'll
Mm-hmm.
say, not talking about like Hot Toys or anything like that,
Yeah.
but in the average scale price range. And nobody cared. Nobody wanted them, or nobody knew about them. I don't know, but yeah, they'll obsess over the Black Series, and then there's so many of them they can't even display them. They got them all turned sideways, and
Like the Funko Pop.
all you see is a row of numbers
Yeah.
on the sides of the boxes, not even artwork. So it's what are you gonna do?
Yeah. He's just gonna have them on the shelf
John
type
wants to know
thing.
if he's going to get a chance to win the Schoolhouse Rock Mathematics Edition on a trivia game. Yeah, you want another one?
He went the math one. He got the history one the last time.
No, that was the full series, wasn't
Oh.
it? Yeah,
Oh, okay. I
that
don't
was the
know.
full
I thought
series.
he said he got the history.
No,
Oh, okay.
that was that was the
The whole
whole
shebang.
history. Yeah, the because it was the duplicate of the one that I have.
Oh, okay.
And Zom says he had a pet rock. Friend used him with their slingshot. He's out there
Oh.
somewhere.
Oh no.
He's in a slingshot.
Please give it back. You should have put out
He ran away.
a reward for it.
He went away. Munich says they went to as low as 4. I
Wow.
believe the original price was 25 to 30, which is in sync with Legends pricing. It was a good while ago. They can't quite remember, but yeah, I mean that's about what they cost then, right? They're closer. I mean, they're around the $26 range, 26, 27 now.
That's crazy.
That's 26 or $27.
But that was some years ago though. Oh.
But he's talking to Zom.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, they hit rock bottom. A lot of stuff at the Disney store does.
People don't go in the Disney store because the Disney store is too expensive.
People go into the Disney store and walk around,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of employees there because they're afraid people are going to walk out with stuff. And they're afraid everybody's
They
going to
ain't got
shoplift
nothing
the
in the
place.
Disney store to walk out
That
with.
doesn't mean people won't steal it. People will steal anything because they are crazy. You know, the people will steal
Yeah, they do.
anything. It doesn't even make any sense.
They go in Walmart and steal a chicken out of the out of the thing and leave it on that hot plate. You know, at the front of Walmart, they got that hot thing, and then they got the chicken in there, and people
Hmm.
go in there and take the chicken out
They eat it in the store.
and eat the chicken in the
You
store as
see
they walk
empty
around
food packages or empty beverage containers in the
all
store
over
all the time.
Walmart.
Yeah, people just standing in the corner and just eating.
You just start eating all the chicken and just leaving it there on the shelves and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's incredible. People will steal anything. People are awful.
I guess. Yeah.
Oh, and Zom says the Disney stores are closed in Canada. Are they still open there? Well, we don't know,
We ain't been
but
to the mall
haven't
at
been
God
to a
knows
mall
when.
in a
But
long
they
time.
weren't in every mall.
Yeah,
Just like
certain ones.
certain malls had the Disney
They
store.
had the Disney store, and then there was also the Warner Brothers store. I don't know if you ever went to
Oh
a
no,
Warner
I
Brothers
never
store.
been to a Warner Brothers store.
Um, I had been to the Warner Brothers stores before. It was the same deal. It was the same deal, same kind of setup.
Mm-hmm.
Gilgamesh said last time they went to a Disney store was when they were on a Disney cruise.
Oh
The
wow.
choices were limited on the boat.
Yeah, everything
But it
in
was
there.
expensive as hell too.
Oh, at Target, they Disney.
That's a bad sign, actually, when you see a section devoted. Who was it? FAO,
Uh-oh,
the FAO Schwartz,
is the connection is lost. Are we back?
the FAO Schwartz selection or section in
Mm-hmm.
Toys R Us before Toys R Us went out of business, but that was
Yeah.
after FAO Schwartz went bankrupt, which, by the way, was a very expensive toy store.
Really?
Their prices were very high by comparison to anywhere else, at least 20% higher than you would pay anywhere else. But it was the allure of going into the store. The one in Boston was, it had like 15-foot tall, like brass teddy bears out in front of the store on the sidewalk.
Oh
And
wow.
then it was a 2-story building,
Mm-hmm.
and it was full of automatons, robots, and
Mm-hmm.
like life-size Lego people that was, like 5, 6
And
feet tall.
they
And
were planning on selling that stuff, or was that just the
that was
display?
the displays.
Oh,
But they
okay.
had that was where you went if you wanted to get like a 7-foot tall teddy bear.
Who the heck want that?
Somebody wanted it, but that shit was expensive. And then
Hmm.
but they sold other types of toys, but the price markup was insane. But you went
Oh,
in there for the allure of it being FAO Schwartz,
no.
because it was just crazy in there the way it looked.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the keyboard, the gigantic keyboard on the
Like what
ground
you
that you could,
saw, big.
yeah, that you could walk on, and it would play
Mm-hmm.
notes and stuff like that. It was crazy. But it was, and they've been around for a long time,
Mm.
FAO Schwartz, but they couldn't sustain it. They couldn't sustain it, and eventually went bankrupt. And it ended up as it's coming back. FAO Schwartz is coming back, and it was like a shelf in Toys R Us with teddy bears on it.
They
And
got a shelf in Target.
yeah,
Because the last time we were in Target, you were surprised to see it. One of the old bears is outside the Turf's New England Medical Center.
Tufts.
Tufts.
Nothing says what, one of those giant brass
Yeah,
bears.
yeah.
And Raccoon says the Toys R Us in Times Square had a life-size Barbie dream house you could walk through. Wow.
Oh wow.
Because it's like London, New York, Paris. It was all the big cities was supposed to have it. FAO Schwartz.
Mm.
And like I said, they were around for a long time. I've got an FAO Schwartz Christmas catalog from like 1952 or 53 or something. And yeah, but they just couldn't sustain
See you,
themselves.
Zom.
Oh,
Have a good night. Thank you for spending time with us.
Zom?
Yeah.
Oh, he said he's leaving?
Yeah. He said good night. See? Night,
Oh,
night.
okay.
See?
I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, thumbs up. Yes, please do if you don't mind. As I say, the rumor has it, it helps with the algorithm. I don't believe it.
That's what they say.
But we appreciate it. We appreciate it.
The
Thumbs up.
WB store in Copley.
Copley Square,
Oh,
not too far from FAO Schwartz. That is correct. I
okay.
remember because where I saw the Warner Brothers store was in Boston, and they had a section. They had like a tunnel, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That you go in. There's an opening on both sides, and inside there was a big like theater size movie screen
Mhm.
playing vintage Warner Brothers cartoons
Oh,
all day
okay.
long.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was neat actually.
It's shame there's no true toy stores left.
No, there is not.
Not
There's
one.
toy sections in
Yeah.
places. And again,
But they
toys,
don't sell toys no more. To
no.
have a toy store.
But, it would have to be an adult place. I know there's Think Geek, but
That ain't
it doesn't
the
feel right at
same.
all. And
No.
then to me, the last great toy store was KB,
I know you
because
say
Toys
so.
R Us, yeah. Well, Toys R Us wasn't a toy store anymore as far back as the 90s. It had a big toy section, but it was really a baby store. So
Yeah.
baby furniture, baby clothes, formula diapers, stuff
Mhm.
like that. But the video game section, bikes and toys, it got reduced to a section. But I remember I hadn't been to a Toys R Us when I was a kid, but I'd been to a Child World before they went out of
Mhm.
business. And you're talking Walmart size all toys.
Mhm.
But they slowly were moving away from that for a long time.
Yeah, but you got to think they stopped making toys.
I know. They're moving
So
away
of
from it.
course it dwindled down and now you don't make toys anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of the independents. I guess you can like fill up the store with a lot of these different independents.
A bunch of, I mean, because it's aimed at the adult collectors market, most of it. So it's
Yeah.
all markup prices. It's all expensive. The
Yeah.
closest you can get to that type of KB feel is Ollie's now, because their figures are priced what they should be, because we're overpaying. DC says the most incredible toy store they were in was American Girl store in Chicago, a converted Sears, 3 levels of American Girls, including a
Wow.
spa with cucumbers and a hospital to bring your AG doll to. Oh, wow. That
Wow.
sounds like what they used to do with the Cabbage Patch.
They got the Cabbage Patch land somewhere near here, and we keep saying we're
We're going
gonna
to go
go
check it
there.
out because it's still that the one in Georgia still exists.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I think that's where
where it
Cabbage Patch
originated.
was born,
Hmm.
and it's the hospital, and you can go in and see it, and like the labor and delivery and all of that mess.
Labor and delivery, they pull them out from under cabbages. Where do
Yeah.
you think? Why do you think they're called Cabbage Patch Kids?
Yeah, but they got that here in Georgia, not too far from us. And I keep saying we're gonna go, and then I never think about it. And now I'm thinking about it because we're off, but
Hmm.
then I didn't plan it, so now I don't
Oh
want to
well.
go because it has to be in my mind like
Well, we made it to the
days.
Lunchbox Museum.
Yeah, but I had planned that
We did a full
lunchbox
video on that a long
museum.
time ago.
That was fun. I enjoyed the
That was
lunchbox
loaded. He must have
yes.
had 10,000 lunchboxes in there. It's crazy.
And he had trash cans and lunch
And lunch
trays.
trays.
And they had that big tree in the middle
Yeah,
of the floor.
from the McDonald's, the old tree. And
And
Tommy says
Babies
they
R
split
Us.
off the Babies R Us. Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
independent Babies R Us's.
Yeah, because
I
it was
remember that.
one near the mall here. Child World in Quincy, Massachusetts used to be awesome, but
Went
it
out of
went up
business
business so quickly
in the
in the
90s. Says nothing is
90s.
forever. Apparently, nothing is forever. But
Yeah.
I was there like once when I was a kid.
And I mean, all of those stores went out of the business. The bookstores, not Barnes and Noble, they're still around, but like Borders and all of those different bookstores. The thing that really got me was when the electronic stores started going out of business,
Yeah.
like Circuit City and Hi-Fi Buys. Best Buy is still holding on by a
Staples.
thread.
Mm-hmm.
Staples is open. That's not that's like a office
Oh yeah,
supply.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like I used to like going to places like Circuit City because you had the TVs, the stereos, the electronics type stuff. And then when you had questions, the people actually knew what they were talking about. They could recommend stuff or say,
Mhm.
oh, okay, this is how you do that. And I remember I used to work at Radio Shack, and you actually had to take a test on the different electronic equipment. You had to know how to hook up a VCR, because people would come in and say, "Hey, I got this VCR. How do I hook it up to the TV?" And then that's when they were just starting to sell cell phones, and we had to take a class on cell phones. So if
Mhm.
somebody asked about cell phones, we had to take a test on stereo and the different types of wire and how to connect the speakers in the wire to the stereo. And it was just a lot you had to do.
And now you go to Best Buy and you ask them a question and they look it up on the computer and
Yeah,
read the same garbage that you could read yourself if you went to
yeah.
Best Buy's website, because they don't know nothing. Munin says KB had the great deals when they were a kid. When they were really little, that's where their parents bought all their figures. The
Mm,
KB, yeah, that was the clearinghouse for pretty much everybody, and the prices were great. I used to love going to KB.
mm. I've been to Babyland General, the
Hmm.
Cabbage Patch place. It's pretty cool to see. They do a delivery skit.
Of
The
a kid
kid.
from the patch, says Gilgamesh.
Yeah, I'm a plan to go. Mario or Sonic are kind of current
Yeah,
franchises.
but who's into them? Us or little kids?
Yeah.
That's that's the key. And John says back when we were all kids, KB Toys and Toys R Us was for the rich kids. Us poor kids had T, G, and Y, S&P, Gemco, Ben Franklin, Sears, and Robux, and J.C. Penney.
Yeah.
Well,
We had
KB was
Walmart and
cheap.
Kmart.
KB was cheap though.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking about as a young man going to KB,
Mm-hmm.
being like 18, 19 years old, not and collect because I was into the collecting toys. But when I was a kid, I didn't get nothing.
Yeah, I ain't getting
I didn't
nothing.
get nothing unless I bought it myself and I scrounged up the money somewhere. I had a lot of jobs when I was a kid. I was working since I was like 9 or 10.
Yeah, you said
Yeah.
so.
So I made my own money and bought my own things.
I didn't start working until I was like 17.
My mother didn't do Christmas and
There go
birthday.
Custom
Oh,
God
Custom God. He says he used to work at KB and
and
Toys
Toys
R
R
Us.
Us.
Okay,
Good.
big timer.
I know. So he got all the
All the
toys.
inside dope.
Yeah. If he was collecting toys, that would have been good because you could have
Yeah.
got your employee discount.
Migo like says Woolworth. Yeah, Woolworths is where a lot of people they had a lot of cheap stuff. That's where I got the original Chemtoy Fat Albert figurines. That's where my AG toy or HG is it HG? I think it's HG Toys
TG&Y Toy Games and Games.
uh, MASH medical playset came from.
Raccoon Eye's first job was Kitty City.
Mm-hmm.
My first job was at a um funeral home. I worked at the funeral home in our local town, and I was the secretary
Okay.
at the funeral home. I was terrified of this funeral home. I was.
You weren't scared of that paycheck.
It was like $60 a week or something like
Hey,
that. And my
hey,
granddad set it up and like talked to the lady,
that's
and she
cash money.
it was. And she wanted me to come in through the back. She would leave the back door open, but the back door led through the casket room, and I was terrified. So I would break in through the front door because the front door had those slats that you could open up, and I could crack one open and stick my hand in and open the door up because I didn't want to go through the casket room. She
So I
saw
could
me
have
one
hid
day.
in one of them caskets and popped
Man,
out on you. Yeah.
she caught me one day. She was like, "Look, you can't do that. Somebody might see you breaking in. Go through the back." And so I went through the back, and the casket was open, and a sleeve was hanging out. Boy, I about died. I ran through the casket, and I said, "Oh no!"
My
And but it was, I guess, it was cool. I didn't do nothing. I typed up obituaries and
Hmm.
write up her little checks and stuff. That's all I do.
My first job was doing maintenance. Yeah, there you go, Lou. He says that he thinks it was pretty dead in there. My first job was maintenance in an apartment building. It was these two adjoining apartment buildings that was on the street where I lived, because a
Hmm.
lot of apartment buildings there owned by some Russian guy. And I, vacuum the carpet, sweep the floors, wash the windows, all that stuff. Like I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I got like $10 a week for that.
$10 a week.
Yeah, well, I was 9 or 10, but that's busting my ass. For, hey, man, that's cash money.
I guess so.
When you're a kid, when you were a kid back then, that was amazing.
Zaire's and Kmart is where Gilgamesh mom took him to buy some clothes.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what you would find at Woolworth. Lou will love this. HG Toys 1977 MASH medical kit. Mint and sealed in the box. I had this when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And that's why I ran across it again.
We found that at a thrift store or something, right?
No, I've had this for a long time.
Oh.
But I had it when I was a kid. I ran across it in like an antique shop in Boston, like in the early 90s, and grabbed it. And the scalpel is still in there. It fell out. It's down here. It should be like right there. And of course, HG Toys that made a lot of this kind of stuff. It's very, very difficult to find any of this in the package or still sealed. That's a very rare set. I don't know what it's worth, but I mean, I don't think I've ever seen another one for sale anywhere.
Montgomery Ward and Service Merchandise used to sell toys. I remember Service Merchandise. I remember when Montgomery Ward went out of business and they had their final like sales. I went there a couple of times. John McJunkin worked as a newspaper boy from age 7 for the Ithaca Daily Press in Rome, New York, back in the early 70s.
I did that too.
You was a newspaper boy?
Yeah, I delivered newspapers.
You rode your bike?
No, I didn't have a bike.
Nope.
But I had a walk. I had to carry them by hand. So I delivered the Globe, and then I did that for like about a year, and then I also picked up the Herald, and then was delivering both of those for a while, and then I quit because I got a job at the International House of Pancakes.
Communion always get bummed out when we mentioned that we didn't have many toys as a kid compared to him. He was spoiled.
Well, my mother didn't do birthday or Christmas, and that kit is one of the few things I ever remember her giving me.
Wow.
Because she did give me that toy, but that's one of the few things I ever remember her actually gifting me. But yeah, birthday and Christmas didn't happen in my house.
What comic book was that, John? He said with it, the money he made, he bought it. Lou want to operate. He want to get that open.
Nothing says the graphics on that MASH set is unreal.
Yeah.
And Migo says, okay.
Free newspapers no one wanted. Those free newspapers was cool because you got good ads in there.
This is the one.
Oh yeah,
it's coming up.
Lou that one.
Yeah, Lou. I got this in the free box at the Antique Mall. It's an original Mother's Day special 1977 Woolworths flyer from like the Sunday paper. This one was a direct mailer though. It's complete, 24 pages. I'm gonna do a video showcase of it. I'm gonna walk through the whole thing, but nobody saved these.
No,
nobody, and apparently they didn't think it was worth anything. But I've got it now.
But it's intact. I mean, the whole paper's together.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
It's completely intact. I just thought it would be. Custom says my mom wanted me to be a doctor. I think she wanted to operate on me. Actually, is what it is.
She wanted to get you cut open.
Yeah, I don't know why she gave that to me. It's one of the, like I said, one of the few things I ever remember her actually giving me.
Hmm.
But it is what it is. I used to watch MASH when I was a
I used
kid.
to watch
Yeah.
MASH.
Um,
I remember it
I'm
being
sure.
funny, and I remember liking it.
I'm sure I don't remember it. All right. I'm sure I didn't understand it. I should
Yeah.
say as a kid.
Hmm. I remember Hot Lips Houlihan. I remember they used to take a shower, all
Hmm.
of them together. And I always thought that was weird. But then when I was in the military, we all took showers together, the
Hmm.
males and the females.
Hmm.
So it was like, oh, okay. I guess it didn't matter. So, I mean, you couldn't see anything because it was
It was
stalls.
partitioned. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody was in the stall together and nobody cared. And then this one girl came. She was already in our unit, but when we deployed, she didn't deploy with us. So she didn't come for like months after. And all of the males and the females used the bathroom together, took showers together, and nobody had to tell you take off your clothes in the shower, put your clothes on in the shower.
Hmm.
Nobody had to say that. It was just done. She got there, complained. Now we had bathroom times. Females showered at this time, males showered at that time.
Hmm.
And it was like we were doing fine. There was no problems. And then one person comes along and it was, and then it made it just harder to get into the bathroom because you had a lot of guys and then you had to wait, and you didn't really have a lot of hot water and all of this stuff. It was just, I don't know, it just got dumb.
Yeah. Tommy says there was a period when he was a kid. He started collecting newspaper comic strips and
Mm.
wound up saving the whole morning paper for months until the Guardian units got fed up with that. Yeah. I did that too. I would cut out certain characters like Garfield and stuff like that.
I would
You
read
know.
it. I
Hmm.
would read because my aunt got the
Because
paper.
I'm delivering the paper. I used to read them too.
Mm.
You know.
I would read just the comic section, and then in my civics class, the teacher, if you brought in the political cartoons, she would give you extra credit.
Hmm.
So because my aunt got the paper every day, I cut it out every day and I turned in one every day to get the extra credit.
Okay.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey Lou, I'll show you
I mean,
another
I
one.
actually read those. I was like, okay, these ain't funny, but I would just read the regular comics, and the Sunday comics I liked a lot. MASH was at its funniest during the first three seasons. After that, it became more dramatic show. Yeah, I don't know when it became dramatic. I remember it always being funny. What's that?
See if Lou recognizes this one.
Who is that?
It's the Lightning Force. GIs in action.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you see the look at how the helmet is sitting on his head. His neck is like super long.
Look at the back. Did they make all those vehicles and
Why,
stuff?
yes, they did. Because they also made, as well as soldiers, they did cowboys and Indians and all kinds of stuff.
Oh
They
wow.
made tons and tons of this stuff. And you might think it's a G.I. Joe knockoff, but it predates the era. This is from the 70s. And it was made by Topco, and they're called Tiny Toughies.
Oh my god.
Tiny Toughies by Topco. I mean, you see, there's no barcode. This is a
Yeah.
70s product.
Oh wow.
The 70s product. Something else for Lou to get addicted to
Now
right
he
there.
gonna go online. He probably online now
Yeah,
looking
looking
for it.
for him. Hey, Lou. Cowboys and Indians. Cowboys and Indians.
Do you have Bugman of Insecta figures? They are so
No, I don't
expensive.
have those. I don't have them.
Hmm.
Tommy
The
says,
women in the family wanted those coupons.
yeah, the on the newspapers.
Hmm.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. Do they still even make coupons for the Sunday paper?
They barely make a Sunday
I
paper.
know.
Yes, they rock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
See,
they barely make the Sunday paper, and now you don't really need coupons because each store got their own coupons. Because I know we get the ones from Kroger,
but
and
it's
you
like,
just go on your phone and clip it, and then you scan
yeah, great.
your little card, and it comes off automatically.
It's not the same.
It is the same because when the coupons would come out in the newspaper, it was always for stuff you didn't use, like makeup and all this
Well, when I was a kid,
expensive body wash and shampoo.
it was all kinds of like food
Yeah, but it was
consumer.
food you didn't eat
Okay, I
or
don't
food
know.
you know your parents wasn't about to buy all that stuff. They was going to buy that cheap food because they cooked our meals, so you wasn't getting really a lot of
Oh yeah.
that extra stuff. You was going to get whatever had to be whipped up for 2-3 hours. That's what you were going to eat. So we didn't do a lot of
John
that.
said he used to deliver the paper before school, and then after school he'd sell the evening edition on the freeway.
Oh, okay. On
Yeah,
the ramps.
yeah. I didn't sell papers, but I delivered them in the morning.
Mm.
So that was what I did. I had a lot of I've had a lot of jobs over the years, especially even when I was a kid. I've done landscaping as a kid.
I didn't
I
have a
worked
lot of
I
jobs.
worked in a flower shop
Wow.
when I was a kid. I worked at the International House of Pancakes when you could work there as a minor as long as you weren't there past 11 p.m. They'd let you work there as a child. I worked for the APAC Summer Works program for the city in their kitchen when I was like 13, 14 years old.
Lou, you just figured that out. That he could cast his phone to his TV. Oh my
Now you can
gosh.
see everything more clearly. Lou's behind the curve. He's still living in the
And
80s.
he probably got a TV that has the apps and you could just download the YouTube app
Yeah.
and log on. Cause that's how we do it on our TV. But before that, we would cast to the TV, but you don't have
Yeah.
to do that no more. You just download the app. Sundays were the hardest days because each paper was triple
Yeah.
size of the week and Saturday
And with
editions.
especially, well, the Herald would come all together, but the Boston Globe, when they delivered it to you, it would be
Hmm.
in sections. So you would have to put the Sunday paper together yourself.
Oh no,
It would
nobody
come,
doing all that.
all the bundles would be different. You'd have the main page, and then they'd have a sports section to be separate, and then they'd have another section to be separate, and then the
Um,
want ads, and then the flyers, and so it'd come in like 5 different bundles, and you'd have to set them all up, piece them together, then deliver them.
um,
So yeah, it was the Sunday was a pain in the butt. Well,
oh
some
yeah.
people would tip you. When they paid, because you had to collect for the newspaper too. They put you'd leave the envelope when they were due because you had a book that was supposed to keep track
Uh-huh.
that they gave you a ledger, and
Wow.
then you turn that money in to the newspaper, and then they would pay you out of that. But sometimes they would tip you extra, which was nice. Gilgamesh said he's had close to 40 jobs. That
Wow.
sounds like me. People don't believe me when I tell them that. I just always worked. No one was nice enough to give me money for nothing. No kidding.
I didn't have that many jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad I don't be wanting to work like all that. But yeah, I never had a lot of jobs. Cause like I said, my first job, I was like 17, 18 years old.
Yeah. See, but like I said, the building. I've done building maintenance in a few places. I
Hmm.
was even when I was in junior high school. I was at the Ronex office building. On my way to school, I'd be there at like 5 o'clock in the morning cleaning their bathrooms before I went to school. You know, So I've done a lot. Yeah, he said he asked his parents for milk money for school, and his parents handed him the want ads for employment. I was 6 years old, turning 7. There you go. Get out and work, you loafer,
Oh
you
yeah,
sponge.
give you a cup so you can go get some water.
What do you think money grows on trees, kid? That's like Bill Murray and Scrooged when they went back in time and he
Uh-huh.
saw his parents and and Dad brings home a prime cut of beef for him for Christmas
Yeah.
because he works at the butcher's, but he just brought a piece home with him.
Hey, fandom.
Oh, fandom is here. Said had summer youth jobs, then Toys R Us, now Amazon.
Oh, wow, working at
Okay.
Amazon. I
What?
worked at the funeral home.
Mm,
I worked at McDonald's. I worked at a
same
place.
difference.
I worked at a place called Sizzler in Captain
Yeah.
D's, and I worked at Radio Shack. And then I joined the military. And then I worked. After I got out the military, I worked for a couple of months with the State Department for the Secretary of State filing papers while I was waiting to start my job at the
Mm-hmm.
city of Atlanta. Then I worked at Union Pacific, and now I work for the county again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So that's like 10 jobs.
Yeah.
But the first 5 don't really count.
I,
Because,
I
I
don't
wasn't
even
an
think I
adult.
could. I don't think I could run it down like John was saying. If I started the list off, people wouldn't believe it because I
Mm-hmm.
would
That was Gilgamesh.
yeah, I would work multiple. Oh yeah, Gilgamesh. I read the
Mm-hmm.
wrong one, but I used to I would work multiples at a time and
Oh.
part time and stuff like that. You know, like at one time I was working for Store 24 convenience store, Crystal's shoe store, and Coolidge dry cleaners at the same time. You know, and I would bounce back and forth between them because I would be, you know, Crystals was 5 days, 5 or 6 days a week. Store 24 was 5 days a week full time, and then Crystals was 6 days a week in the morning for like
I can
three
keep up
hours.
with all that.
I
Yeah,
did.
Radio Shack. I worked at the
Mm-hmm.
Radio Shack. I
Yeah.
worked at one that was in a shopping mall. That's what where I started. And that one got robbed constantly. And we had this like buzzer, and you're supposed to hit the buzzer and the police would come. And the thing that was so weird about it, it was in a shopping plaza, and on the opposite end of the shopping plaza a police station was there. You hit that button, the police never came. They never came because they were like, okay, if you suspect the store is getting robbed, you
Mm-hmm.
see people robbing the store, hit this button. And we would have people come in and they would ask you for something that they knew was in the back of the store. So you would have to go to the back of the store, and while you in the back, they in there robbing the place blind. So after
Yeah.
a while, I just told them we don't have that, and we don't, and it's not in the back. I was just quit going because all we're gonna do is rob you. So
Yeah.
yep, Sizzler was a restaurant, and they
Yeah.
closed and didn't tell nobody. They went out of business. Didn't tell
That's
any
pretty common
employee.
for those restaurants. They just
Yeah,
disappear.
but they didn't lock up because I went to work that day, and I'm like, man, the parking lot's empty. Okay, whatever. And I go inside, and it's this one lady. She's just sitting there, and I can't remember her name. I'm like, what's going on? She was like, we're closed. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm on today. She was like, no, the company went out of business,
Yeah.
and I'm just staying here to tell everybody because when she got in, the manager was there and told her and left. And she was like, they didn't leave a sign on the door, nothing. So she just waiting for everybody to come in to tell them.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then after that, I started working at I think I started at Captain D's after that. I was
Yeah.
working at Captain D's, and then I went to Radio Shack. And I went from the shopping mall. I mean, not the shopping mall, to the plaza to the shopping mall. I actually started working at the mall. Oh wow. David, I did the building maintenance in a 48-story office building. It could be brutal. I bet.
Says Paul. The the Ronex building, it was only 5 floors,
Mm,
but all my job was just to clean those bathrooms, and
gourmet chef.
yeah,
Not fun.
not fun when you're a kid, especially the ladies' bathrooms were the worst. They I don't even want to hear it. The ladies' bathrooms are the worst all the time. John says his first boss was the first black newspaper chief editor for the company. Tough but fair boss. Chewed me out once for selling wet newspapers to customers, but it was raining.
What you supposed to do?
I don't know. How do you find out?
Because somebody
Spying
complained.
on you.
No, one of those customers complained.
Oh, you
That
think
boy
so?
sold me wet papers.
Oh yeah.
So he had to handle it. So he handled it. Terrible management. How do you shut down and don't inform your employees?
You'd be surprised how that works. Like when I worked for Crystals went bankrupt, and he came in on a Wednesday. Kenny Crystal owned Crystal shoe stores, and he also was connected with Tello's. Anybody from the East Coast remember Tello's clothing stores? The shoe department was Crystals. And he came in on a Wednesday and said Friday's the last day.
Well, at least they gave you a couple of days.
I mean, but damn.
They didn't tell us at all.
I've heard that Bennigan's did the same thing to people. Bennigan's people came to work and there were chains on the doors.
They didn't even chain the doors. They didn't tell nobody.
I mean, sneaks up on you.
Yeah, I got there, got out of school, came. Parking lot was empty, and I thought that was weird. But I'm like, okay, maybe just nobody here yet.
Maybe not. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. We want Trinessa.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
I would have waited for you.
Yeah, I went home. I went back and started looking for another job. I would have been
like Jack Nicholson in that one movie. I can't think of the name of it, where he was in the restaurant and he refused to cooperate because the waitress that he liked wasn't there. Munin says their female friends would always rant about how disgusting the girls' bathroom was. From what they told me, the place is a top-level biohazard. It was horrible. The women's bathrooms were always horrible. It was never toilet paper. It was always gone. Even the reserve was gone. All the supplies were gone, and the place was a mess. The toilets were always clogged. It was just it was destroyed. There was things on the floor that shouldn't have been. We'll just leave it there. But in the men's room, usually it was just discarded newspapers and magazines on the floors.
Pee on the floor.
No, really, not really. I mean, the men's bathrooms weren't that bad. The women's rooms were horrible. They smelled bad.
Yeah.
Oh, Migo, he recognized Tello's.
Haven't heard of that.
Tello's clothing store. Yeah. And they had an affiliation with Crystals. John says people would call us in to our newspaper front office and either compliment or complain on us.
And the boys. I don't know.
Oh no. Yeah, that's terrible. But what are you going to do?
Jack Nicholson.
I can't remember the name of the movie. It was a restaurant he kept hanging out in, and there was a waitress he really liked. And she wasn't there one day, and he went nuts because he had something wrong with him. I can't remember the name of the movie. He was yelling and screaming, "Where's so and so?" And they called her at home. He said, "Can you come down here and fix this guy, please?" Gilgamesh says when they worked at McDonald's, they wanted him to clean the bathrooms. He did it once and then refused. I told them they could fire me before I do that again.
When I worked at McDonald's, I was the cashier. Taking orders. And then sometime I would work the back booth. I enjoyed that. Everybody wanted to work the back booth because then you didn't have to deal with like the customers up front, the food and all of that. You just took orders and you made Happy Meal bags. Because when I worked at McDonald's, Happy Meals came in a bag. You just made Happy Meal bags and take orders and the money because it was 2 booths.
Yeah.
I don't think I worked the front booth a couple of times. That wasn't bad. But I like working the back booth, and every so often I would get the back booth. Everybody wanted that.
Okay.
How about
Chess King? Yeah, that sounds familiar too. Actually, clothing store. And Paul wants to know if I ever watched the 4th of July fireworks
on TV
when I lived in Boston.
Oh,
I went out a few times to the Charles River when they did it. We haven't seen any together though.
No, I do want to go somewhere where you can actually see the fireworks and it's not blocked by buildings and a million people, and look at the fireworks. When I was in Italy on the military base, one year, it was only 1 year they did it. They had a really good fireworks display. And at first it had messed up because they started it and then it went on for about 2-3 minutes and then it stopped. And I'm like, is that it? Are you
That's
kidding
it.
me? So nobody left. Everybody just kind of stayed there. And I guess something went wrong. And then it started up like 10 minutes later. And it went on for like an hour. And it was a really nice fireworks display. And the part I liked about it, nothing was blocked. There was no buildings in the way. It wasn't like so much people you couldn't see or enjoy it. Because I went 1 year to
Mhm.
Stone Mountain Park, and they have this big open lawn where they have concerts, and it's right in front of the mountain where they got the etchings, and when they have just the nightly laser show, you can just lay out on the lawn. But then on 4th of July, it's like a million people crammed in there. You can't
Yeah.
find a space, and it's just not as much fun.
Okay.
Yeah. What was your worst customer experience? Um, this one lady came in there, she ordered her food. And then, we gave her the food. She opens everything up and takes it apart. And then it's like, this is not what I ordered. And I'm like, what you ordered? You done took everything apart. You took the hamburger and everything and sprayed it apart. And then I don't know what happened, but it's always somebody wanting something. Um, or you got these kids coming there with no money, but then they want to order everything on the menu. I'm like, look, you got $2. Here's this hamburger because that's all you getting. You're not getting the rest because you don't have enough money. And I would do that. I was like, okay, you got $2. Here's $2 worth of hamburger. That's all
Bye.
you getting.
Yeah, I know.
My area had some fireworks while watching this live stream. I heard a big car crash.
Uh-oh.
When I was in Colombia one time, the city I was in had fireworks every night for about a week. Best fireworks. Disney has fireworks. Do you have Pepsi? Oh,
Paul explains that he said that his kid did that.
oh, Disney World, they have the fireworks display every night.
Mm-hmm.
When I went there, um, we watched the fireworks display every night. Oh, Mr. Teller sat beside my hospital bed and told me, you do realize that you're laying here recovering on company time, don't you?
Yeah, I know. There you go. But it's gotten pretty late, so we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go ahead and wrap things up.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you everybody for joining us. We hope you had a good time,
Yes.
and we hope that you will catch us again at some point in the future when we do another
Live
stream.
stream. Yes, because we still got to do our trivia, and we
Yes.
will do that this weekend.
Yeah,
So I don't know if
trivia contest.
yeah, we're going to be doing that this weekend. So be on the lookout. We will put it up early and it'll
Yeah.
say trivia night, so y'all will know and be ready for that. So